Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Breaking up on Infowars.com. Leaked counterterrorism bulletin warns police of impending far-right violence. And they've been doing that for a while, and then magically it starts appearing. And this is a government under Clinton and now under Obama, the same crew, who's been caught staging false flags red-handed before. I mean, we've caught them with the unexploded bombs. We know their names, Oklahoma City, whole 9 yards. And leaked counterterrorism bulletin warns police of impending. Now they're saying it's impending. And, of course, they go on in other memos to say impending IED attacks, improvised explosive devices, and that every department will be hit. That's about as likely as every police department being hit by Mars attacks aliens with beehive haircuts. It's just total fantasy. But it's a psyop. So many times when they have these terror drills on bases, schools, you name it, they don't tell you it's a drill at first locally. And then people call, oh, we're getting hit by terrorists, or there's a mass shooting, and then later, oh, this was just a drill. And that creates the perception of all the shooting and terrorism. And then hopefully they can get some mentally ill people, they think, to go out and then actually think, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll go out, you know. Advertising, come to the Florida beaches, the Florida Keys. Well, advertising, get some Pillsbury biscuit mix. That's what advertising is. And when you advertise school shootings, when you advertise suicide, and I've talked about this a lot, even 2020 on ABC News to his credit, back in the 99, did a report on this. I was in 2000. The guys have dug it up before. And just as an example, you know, I tend to go down rabbit trails, that death education at Columbine, and then it went on to say, and nationwide, but the first place it was done was at Columbine, strangely enough, made suicides more than double. I think the number was triple, but you can look it up. And World Net Daily reported on at the time. I talked about it a month ago, and they pulled up the article. I'm kind of getting this OCD thing I never used to have, where then I must have them pull it up and check and verify. Not that I want to show off that I know what I'm talking about. It's that, like, I want to see it and make sure I'm being accurate. That's the opposite of the mainstream media, that I really want to tell you the truth. I really want to get it right. I rack my brain trying to get it exactly right here. Still not perfect. Obviously, nobody is. But that's what's going on here. And they've really failed to increase the mass shootings, even though they've tried, because gang mass shootings have gone down in schools. They have increased just the random shoot-'em-up video game drug head pib going in and shooting people. So that went up a little bit. Well, it didn't really exist before, so it went up quite a bit. But still, it's very small on the radar in the aggregate. And the gang shootings went down, so it's flat. Because they consider a gang shooting in the same category with the FBI numbers as the mass shootings that are just totally for no reason. Again, I'm not endorsing gang shootings. I'm saying they'll have some beef with each other over drugs or money. And, you know, I mean, it's business. There's a reason it happened, at least in the criminal mind, not I'm going to go shoot blonde people because I'm a white male and white males are bad, even though the guy really wasn't a white male. I mean, just on and on with the craziness. So that's all coming up today. One of Putin's top advisors believes that the Antichrist has taken over the United States and there's going to be basically World War III. And this guy's a top television guest and friends with Putin. And I've known this for a while, but I was reading this article today. It was just hitting me how strange all this is. And I know Putin is a listener of this radio show as well, and a lot more. Yeah, I never really bragged about it because it sounds crazy. But I was told that by high-level RT people about 4 years ago. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are here live, broadcast. broadcasting worldwide. I will return this Sunday with a very special transmission from 4 to 6 p.m. I'm going to air during the radio show a 20-plus minute interview with Ron Paul that Kit Daniels did that a few weeks ago that we did as a transcript article, but that has never actually been heard before. And there's more than just as what is in the article with Ron Paul that came out in last month's InfoWars magazine. And then there's my Porter Stansbury, Dallas Stansbury Association speech I gave that I think is really one of my better speeches, probably one of my best speeches ever given. We're going to be airing that and covering the news of the day this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. The news websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, and I mentioned the Staff Sergeant part, that's how he's able to get on these bases, as he just got out of the military, just retired, it was about a year ago, goes down there and openly says, here's my card, I'm here as a reporter to cover things. They let him in to the Air Force Base down there where Bergdahl was supposed to arrive last night, but didn't. He's supposedly now somewhere in the U.S. and is going to be going there. And then we'll be there on Fort Sam Houston, basically, and a base within it. There's a whole bunch of bases connected right there. And the police come over after they've been there a while, waiting for Bergdahl to get there, obviously, and then say, hey, we're throwing you off the base. And my commander told me to tell you, don't forget Fort A.P. Hill. That could happen again. What could happen again? They held him for 2.5 hours and then let him off the base. We're going to bases saying we're here to report on the fact you have mock churches and mock D.C. subways. And sure enough, they have what looked like torture equipment from places where Biggs took people to be tortured on a routine basis. He's honest about that. It's industrial scale. By industrial scale, it's like a McDonald's on the corner, torture is. They declassified a few years ago Green Beret manuals from Vietnam. We actually had a colonel on, a famous Special Forces colonel, I forget his name, Trinde put it out, who started getting sued, but then they won the lawsuit for talking about what was later declassified, that they would torture people's kids in front of them with electrical wires hooked to their genitals. So let's just stop lying about what goes on here. But that's a side issue. The point is that we're there to try to ask Bergdahl a question. You know, they go, oh, he has a mental issue. Oh, no one can talk to him. Pretty soon they're going to say that about everybody. They're saying it's mentally ill if you don't like Hillary Clinton, that it's a oppositional defiance disorder, and they got a whole bunch of other ones. And there are real mental disorders. I mean, I agree with some of the diagnostics out there on schizophrenics or on people that are clinically depressed or borderline personality disorders. I mean, there are a lot of really weird people that follow patterns that you can put in a book and give them a name. Doesn't mean that that diagnostic analysis is absolutely correct. Nothing's perfect. But it's a way to try to make sense of things, study it, and then learn how to look at it to do something about it. The problem is then they either make it black or white, where psychology and psychiatry is either pure evil or pure good. And the system says it's pure good. The Scientologists say it's pure bad because they're setting up their own mind system that they're saying is good. It's like one church fighting with another church. I mean, psychiatry and psychology in this country is just as much a church as Scientology is, or a Baptist church. They are all selling their idea. And it's becoming this excuse of, no one can talk to Bergdahl, including no one from Congress, because we say, the medical experts say, no one can ask him questions. It's just an example of how they use it as a cover. Or, your neighbor said they saw you cleaning a gun in your garage. Well, yeah, that's where I clean my guns. Well, guns are legal. You need to come with us, Mr. Johnson. I see this in the news every day. It happens to everybody I basically know. I'm sure you heard about it. Probably happened to you. Neighbor sees a gun, no matter if you live in Texas or wherever. You're putting your deer rifle in your car. Cops, come that afternoon after you go to the shooting range, and you're like, what's going on? We need you to come with us, Mr. Jones or Mr. Thompson or Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Schultz, Mr. Chow, whatever your last name is, we need you to come with us. We'll get you a psychological evaluation. Everything's going to be fine. Just put these handcuffs on you for your own safety. Or maybe they don't put you in handcuffs part of the time, and then you go, and they have a person there, and you get mad and go, I've done nothing wrong. This is ridiculous. Oh, you're showing opposition and acting paranoid. And then you get home, and all your guns are gone, and your safe's broken into by a locksmith with a police department, and your milk's been drunk out of the refrigerator, and your Twinkies have been eaten. I mean, literally, they'll eat your food. This is what they do. They'll have the ATF with them or whatever in a lot of cases. I've seen this literally thousands of times in the news when people sue over it. They should. And then they go, hey, you're just going to have to, spend 2 years in court to get your guns back. And then you win the court case, and you don't get the guns back. The police just go, sue us again. A lot of times it's because the cops have sold the guns out the back door. That keeps coming out. They're selling your guns, just like a lot of police departments are in the drug trade. And I'll say this, they're mainly Democratic Party-run police departments. Republican Party police departments will get crazy and plant drugs on minorities. Sometimes there is a little bit of racism there. They'll usually just be holier than thou, though, and beat you up if you backtalk them. I'm kind of just first approximation from years of research. It's not a first approximation, it's a deep research. What I'm saying is it's just gestalt, kind of a MO profile. Democrat police departments generally run the prostitutes, the drugs, the money laundering, the gangs, everything. They sell the guns out the back door, you name it. It's like Chicago. It's a Chicago model. And I, quite frankly, have had enough of it. Now, see, that's how my brain works and meanders, and sometimes I just go with it. I don't know how I even got onto that subject, but I should probably give you the top story, shouldn't I? Now, there's a headline right there they pulled up. Washington police sheriff's departments in business of selling guns. Seattle's police department made headlines last month when it held a gun buyback event where citizens surrendered more than 700 firearms in exchange for Amazon gift cards. Their policies to destroy the guns, unwanted weapons from the hands of the private citizens, so they otherwise may be not stolen or lost using a crime or actually discharged. But not all police agencies destroy guns seized by police or turned in. No, they end up selling them, either legally or illegally. Man, I tell you, a lot of folks go to these gun buybacks and they stand out on the street and the cops don't like it, but in Austin, folks do this, and it happens all over the country. People say, hey, you going in there? I want to buy that gun. And it's a private sale. That's what they want to make illegal. And the old lady will go, well, how much will you give me? I'll give you more than a $50 Amazon card. And you can talk to these old ladies. That's mainly who'll have the really nice guns. You'll have like gangbangers and folks that have some broken 22 that's 30 years old. And, I guess $50 for a gift card's worth it or whatever. But you better know you're really going in a database. I mean, it's not an anonymous turn-in. That's a big fraud. That's come out as well. The old ladies will have sometimes $5,000, $10,000 carved shotgun collectors, and they're there for $100, $200, $50, Walmart gift card, whatever the case is. And, I mean, it's good business to go to a police buyback and stand out on the public street and wave at people, say, I want to buy your guns. And then the cops get in your face, say, fine, old lady, Mrs. Thompson or whatever their name is, come with me to Bob's gun shop and we'll do a transfer right there. I'll pay you $500 right now for that shotgun. And you can turn around, folks, and make $4,000 or $5,000 just like that. I mean, I don't blame the police. I'm not saying they should commit a crime and sell it out the back, but are you really going to take a $5,000 shotgun and melt it down because some idiot saw a TV ad that the government put on locally to come turn in a $5,000, $10,000 shotgun? A $1,500 assault rifle? I mean, they're not destroying a $1,500 assault rifle, boys and girls. They are illegally selling them out the back door. Or if it's a Republican Party type run police department, they will just take them and then sell them to brokers. That's what the article says. And I don't blame them. I mean, that'd be like taking a perfectly good dinner table and just smashing it up, or a perfectly good television, or a perfectly good tool set. I mean, it's just mental illness. The guns aren't bad. And I know you know that, but it just shows the insanity. And I'm going to make myself get to the news. What happens is I researched last night, I researched this morning, I get ready for the show, and then I don't like to expose the system. I mean, I want to expose them. I like to expose them. What I mean is, it's just sick. But it's got to be done to cover all this. This is so incredible. And I've got to get my writers on this or shoot a special video to kind of codify it and put all the proof in it. But I told you this was coming, and I've been telling you for a couple years. This al-Qaeda group set to take Baghdad now, and there may have to be a total reinvasion of Iraq, was armed and protected by Obama and the globalists. I mean, it's just off the charts. Another false flag. All right, the news is so off the charts, and I know I just keep saying that every day. It's because in 19 years on air, and the staff's noting this as well in me, I just am shell-shocked. I'm like a deer in the headlights right now that, wow, I really was on target all along. And the old-timers, mainly former military, police, and intelligence people in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s that warned us about the New World Order. Kaufman from England, who was in MI6. Anthony Sutton, that worked in investigations in Congress. The John Birch Society, all of them. It was all exactly as they said. Just exactly as they said. G. Edward Griffin, all of them. I mean, we just, Red Beckman. I mean, I don't want to hang out with rock stars, folks. I've got some rock star friends and people like them because they're cool, but you know what I mean. I don't want to hang out with movie stars. Or if I do know some movie stars, it's because they're cool people and I like them as friends, who I get butterflies around is living legends who are just so smart and patriotic and manly, and who came from behind a trillion miles so that we have a chance to beat them today. Ron Paul stands on the shoulders of all those people. I stand on their shoulders. That's why I don't like people, I've analyzed it. I don't like people calling, tell me what a great job I'm doing, because it is embarrassing to me and incredibly humbling that so many incredible people look up to me, and half the time I'm all wound up and the show's unlistenable. Because there are people that were imprisoned and tortured. Congressman Hansen, and we should get that author on who's working with him. I wanted to get Congressman Hansen on and then found out he's ill. And nobody probably knows who Congressman Hansen is. He's a Ron Paul from 25, 30 years ago. Just as good as Ron Paul. Just as good as Larry McDonald, Dr. Larry McDonald. Again, another doctor fighting the tyrants. And they tortured him for 6 months in they call it dieseling, off and on, driving him around, sometimes weeks on end, 15, 18 hours a day from federal prison to federal prison until his feet burst and his disc burst. That's what happens in that position. They do it. It's worse than being tortured the way the military would torture you. All because he almost got the IRS abolished and started the anti-IRS movement, or helped supercharge it. And no one even knows who he is, ladies and gentlemen. But like a rock in water, the ripples. I mean, I haven't been tortured yet. I've been beat up, attacked, harassed, but I mean, I have not paid my dues like a lot of these people like Red Beckman, who they arrested repeatedly, Air Force veteran, bulldozed his house, tortured him in jail, all sorts of stuff he doesn't even talk about, just because he started the Fully Informed Jury Association. They told him, you shut up, we're going to kill you. He's still alive. We ought to get him on. I said I was going to have Biggs on, and McAdoo's coming in with some positive breaking news. And we've got what happened to Biggs last night going down to the military base looking for Bergdahl, supposedly going to show up. Hasn't gotten there yet. But at the same time, I'm totally shell-shocked because now the globalists are admitting what they're going to do, everything the old-timers who were on the inside and saw it and warned us said they were going to do, and it can only be described as pure Satanism. I mean, shutting the country down, bankrupting the nation, turning our power off, our physical half our electricity, doubling the price will bankrupt us. Obamacare's meant to bankrupt us. I see comments on YouTube and InfoWars. It's a minority of comments going, hey, stop calling them aliens. They're people, and they deserve to be here. Can I come to your house and knock on the door and say, let me in and feed me, pay for everything? That's called slavery. I'm not a slave of people coming here, but I am a slave. And then people just have one-lines like, oh, come on, be nice. Tell all the poor kids in the world they can get here, they can stay here. I mean, we're not even supposed to call people that are here illegally illegals or illegals. We're supposed to call them migrants. It's mind control. We got big news. I haven't even gotten into Iraq. We'll get into that with Biggs and then McAdoo. And it's just so much that you can watch for free at Infowars.com/show if you're a radio listener out there. You can always catch the refeed 24 hours a day of the 3-hour radio/TV show refeeding at Infowars.com/show. And then there's the subscription site for the nightly news, all the films, HD, ebooks, a lot of other films, our own media sites so that it won't be as easy to censor us like they do on YouTube sometimes and other places. So please become a PrisonPlanet.tv member today. Let me be disciplined here and just read you the headlines, and I'm getting to all of them after our guests leave us here today. Leaked counterterrorism bulletin warns police of impending far-right violence. I told you. They're getting ready to claim the Tea Party's going to start blowing stuff up. How do you discredit the Tea Party taking over, winning the primaries everywhere? OKC. It'd be like if you had strep throat and they said you need penicillin. Obama's penicillin is a truckload of TNT rolling into a federal building. Probably, and there'll be a truck outside, just full of Alex Jones magazines. You can bet your boots, folks. And that's why we mention this constantly. And it's hardcore, and it's why they want to kill me. It's why they attack me on the national news and why I'm in the White House memos. And because, I mean, they know I'm sitting here going, hey, I know who you are. You're the Joker. Obama, Holder, New World Order. I've got you. And it's freaking them out that we're on the radio in Boston and Las Vegas and into Los Angeles and into San Francisco and all like 6-7 stations in Texas, 6-7 stations in Tennessee, 5 or 6 stations in Illinois, stations all over. And it's freaking them out. They're driving around listening on AM and FM radio, and I'm up here saying, hey, I'm going in. I'm not shutting up. I know who you are, murderers. And you are the main suspects of every major shooting that is pinned on me. I predicted it would happen and I'd be blamed. It might be some mentally ill person out there. 30, the FBI's own numbers, we covered this 2 days ago. 36 police officers have been killed in the last 12 years by supposed sovereign citizen right-wing patriots. And if you're one of those cops' family members, it is a big deal. And I'm sorry for them. But statistically, that's 3 a year out of several million police. It is one of, if not the rarest way to die. Gangbangers shoot cops every day and kill them in this country. Sometimes 5, 6 cops die a day. You can look at the numbers. You don't even hear about it except in the local news. But my God, if somebody's got an NRA sticker and shoots a cop, we're going to know their name. It's going to be household, ladies and gentlemen. There are going to be TV specials about it. You know how many movies and TV shows there are where there's a crazy talk show host from Texas who wants to blow up federal buildings and they talk just like me? I've probably seen 10 movies people have sent us or more where it's supposed to be me. Hell, they even name villains Alex Jones in movies now. I mean, it's not a power trip, by the way. I'm doing my duty to expose these people. They have tried to assassinate my name and my character, and it's not worked. And so I know what their next move could be. And so if I obsess on this a little bit, it's because you start thinking about it. You start whistling past the graveyard. And I'm not, quite frankly, even worried about it. I'm not trying to freak people out or be melodramatic. I mean, this is real, folks. And it's just something you got to deal with. It's something you got to deal with. because we're going to lose everything if we don't get past our fear and stand up against them. So we've got that. Establishment media ramps up Iraq intervention so Obama can be a hero saving us from al-Qaeda in Iraq. I want to spend at least 30 minutes today on this, but I want to go pull all the articles to prove it. I don't want to just say all this on air. I want to make a really big deal out of this. In fact, I may shoot a special report at the end of the show if I've got the energy, because I get exhausted after the show for a couple of hours. Because I know exactly what they're doing in Iraq, and I even predicted it, and I have all the proof that this is a 100% false flag. Even the media, in plain view, admits our government armed this al-Qaeda. And it's so staged that the fighters on the ground don't know it. I'm going to decompartmentalize all this. But the leadership knows, and they will be defeated by Obama in Baghdad. Now, what will really happen is they've paid them off, and then the commanders will tell them to stop attacking. And that came out with the Shiites and the Sunnis, that large contingents were being paid by mercenary groups. Remember when this came out in the news? They caught British SAS dressed up like al-Qaeda killing Shiites, and it was to get stuff stirred up again to keep the war going, to destabilize the country. While troops are really getting blown up, like Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs got blown up in Iraq and Afghanistan, I know. He can tell that story. He's sitting right here. I mean, it's real people. One time I was on Opie and Anthony's show, or one of those shows on XM, and a guy called in. I know it was on that network, and a guy goes, "Don't you say al-Qaeda's fake? I was a truck driver contractor over there, and it went in my leg into my spine, and I can hardly work. I'll kick your ass, Jones, if I ever see you." And I could understand why the guy was mad, and it got to me because he was thinking I was saying he wasn't in a real war. Think of the guys who don't even have weapons driving along getting blown up. No, you're getting shot at. You're getting blown up. It's real. The al-Qaeda people are being protected and given the money and the weapons by the globalists. And they're doing it publicly, and it makes me angry, okay? It makes me mad. The public is so uninformed, they don't even know who the players are. Why do you think this show is incredibly popular with the military? Because they know I know what I'm talking about, folks. The military at least knows who the players are. The general public doesn't, so I'm going to get into that. Huge open border news, huge gun-grabbing news, huge spying news, huge Putin news. I mean, I've got to get to all this. It is just cuckoo land. Iraq is now, Baghdad, as we speak, is falling to al-Qaeda with convoys. Go to drudgereport.com. Convoys of brand new Mercedes and Jeeps and Toyota trucks with huge Wahhabist banners and bin Laden banners. That's what the most popular name to call your group is, a bin Laden brigade. That's what it translates into. The black flag of Saudi Arabia, folks. And they're just rolling in. This is a covert, like I told you, the whole Middle East, just like Lawrence of Arabia did 100 years ago, they are giving the entire Middle East to al-Qaeda. Syria, Libya, they're going to bring down Iraq and give it to al-Qaeda. Of course, Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11. Who do we attack? Iraq, the secular government. Put al-Qaeda in charge. I'm going to cover it in detail after Krieger leaves us in the middle of the next hour. I'm just speechless right now. Biggs, I want to get your take on this before you talk about what happened to you last night when you went down to the Air Force Base. Because Bergdahl was supposed to show up and what happened. It's interesting to show the effect the press has on people. I mean, obviously, reporters would want to be there for Bergdahl. Why would they act weird when you went there, to scope it out and to be open about it? I want to briefly talk about that, but that all pales in significance to how do you take something so obvious and so simple, but so obvious and simple and so over the top, people can't even register it, that we have to invade Iraq now to kick al-Qaeda out when the door was open and the weapons were given to them. We've been talking about it ad nauseum, writing hundreds of articles about it, giving them a Western base to attack Syria, Western base in Iraq, predicting all of this. And now al-Qaeda is rounding up Shiites and others and other non-Muslims and just taking over Tikrit, executing people. I mean, you fought, I know, all over Iraq. What is this like for you to see this happening now?
I mean, I was never for the war in the first place. Let's clarify that. But, you know, the fact that a lot of Americans died for this and now this is happening, it's like they died for nothing. And they keep saying we're not going to have, you know, any more boots on ground. But you've got to have boots on the ground to coordinate those air attacks to hit those targets for your manned aircraft, not your predators, but, you know, something like that. So there's going to have to be boots on ground coming up. It's just going to happen.
Well, there's already contractors there. But the point is the contractors have been there for 3 years arming al-Qaeda. This is NATO's al-Qaeda army to destabilize the Middle East. I've said it hundreds of times. That's the plan. Now they're doing it. And Obama is the savior fighting people. That was what Benghazi was about.
Yeah, I just...
How do you explain to people the globalists create the crisis to then be able to go in? How do you explain that to them?
I don't think there's a way. I don't. It just pisses me off to see that we've gone through this much to try to get people out, and we're letting this fall all over again. I mean, it's for nothing. It's a slap in the face. It's another failure for us. Just watching this every day, it just breaks my heart to see it. And like you said, the contractors who go out there who drive the trucks, those guys are getting killed left and right all the time, just in drones. I mean, 25-year-old guys with families just getting blown up every day, and you never hear about it. For nothing now.
And I think it's interesting that it's perfectly timed with them saying, well, we're going to, you know, pull out and stop having a big of reach in the foreign, you know, countries. We're going to focus on home. And then now all of a sudden, oh, sorry, we can't. We got to go back to Iraq. We thought we were going to pull it.
But where's the congressional investigations? Yeah. We finally got them to go. Why have we given al-Qaeda a base in western Iraq, one in eastern Iraq to attack Iran? And now that very group is taking over because Saudi Arabia is being given the whole Middle East as their deal for participating in 9/11. Wow. This transcends Obama. This is beyond. And the thing is, it's not my opinion. It's hiding in plain view. Leanne, you've got some good news about activism and the move to get beer companies to release what's in it. That's going to come up in the next segment. I want to finish up with what happened to you last night, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs.
Yeah, I went to a Brooke Army Medical Facility in San Antonio last night. And, you know, much like a lot of the media out there, I was out there waiting Bergdahl's return, and I wanted to go and see if I could see what was going on. So the mainstream media was stuck outside. They were all at a main entrance to the facility, outside lined up, filming inside. I went on base and just started walking around the hospital, you know, talking to people, asking them.
By the way, real reporters always did that in the past, too. They didn't just do what they were told.
Yeah. Yeah, well, apparently that's not good because they got mad. They're like, you know, you're supposed to sit out there with those guys. You can't be coming in here. That's not what you're supposed to do. Well, I mean, that is what I'm supposed to do.
And we've got a video clip after they told you to go to the front gate. What did they say to you?
He said, don't forget what happened to APL. So for everyone who doesn't remember, David Knight and I went up to AP Hill and went and did an investigation up there at a martial law training facility.
They held you for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that a threat, or I don't. Well, what's going to happen? I don't.
Well, he said he looked at me, pointed, and he says, "My boss told me to remind you, don't forget AP Hill."
So I guess that just means we're watching you.
Yeah.
Like we're bad because we want to ask Bergdahl a question.
But right now they're saying that Bergdahl got on the facility. That I don't know how is possible because mainstream there's only 2 entrances into that facility. They had that whole area with camera crews set up on every side of the road and on the other side. And then me and Josh were inside the hospital. Like there was 2 entrances that were open to there where the ambulances come in because they took.
By the way, the footage you guys shot of the illegal aliens in San Antonio, that's all over national Fox News right now with no credit.
Yeah,
it's one thing if they want to grab it, but cover the bug up.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't go do the reporting. They'll just take our work and give us no credit.
Yeah, they're too cowardly to get out there and actually do real work.
Well, I don't want you to listen. We need to talk to some lawyers or stuff. I mean, you're more of an expert on this than I am. You're happy to go on these bases. There's nothing wrong with being a reporter and using the fact that you've got military ID to go on them. And you're honest that you're a reporter. I kind of looked it up, and there shouldn't be a problem. They shouldn't be able to threaten your pension or threaten you. But I know some of that's gone on as well.
Yeah, they threatened me with that yesterday as well.
Yeah, so, but I mean, they're not allowed to take your pension because you go on military bases, are they?
I mean, I gave them the ID and said who I was and what I was doing. I mean, and then one of the guys said that he's like, what are you here for? And I said, oh, I'm waiting on a buddy real quick. He's inside the restroom at the ER. So then he took that as I was waiting on someone in the ER and then said, well, you don't need to be here right now if you're not waiting right here.
Well, they twisted to say you were lying.
Yeah. And then he took me down to a basement. And then at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
We're going to play a clip of that when we come back and then get to this good news with Leanne McAdoo. You can check out the video feed at Infowars.com/show if you want to see the video. Here is the clip of Joe Biggs and, of course, who else went down there with you? Josh Owens, who's just been at the Bundy Ranch deal with the feds aiming guns at him, been at NSA. He deserves a medal. All of you do. We're going to break down what happened there and then get to some good news with Leanne. Here is that clip from the base, Fort Sam Houston, and then there's a base that connects to that. What was the specific name of the hospital or base you were at?
Brooke Army Medical Facility.
Brooke Army Medical, and that's on Fort Sam Houston.
Yeah, it's right connected to it.
Yeah, I know technically it's got a different name. That confuses me. Let's go to this video clip.
Along and wait with everybody else so they can come back tomorrow and wait out front.
Okay. So who's out there that I need to be?
Whoever's on the main gate out there.
Okay. Please do
They
that.
want us to hold on to their ID.
Well, I made a copy of it. I gave it back to him.
Okay.
Yeah, they were leading us out to take us back to our car to escort us out of there. This is down in the basement area.
Well, there you have it. Once again, American citizens get treated like crap. And meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of illegal immigrants right over here just chilling, having a good time. This is what America's come to.
Do is go out there to the parking lot
Yes.
and you hang out over there. If you guys got to take any pictures or anything like that, you
Roger.
just can't take any pictures of the gate. You got to take pictures of Stamsy. That's it.
Roger. We're
If you need
leaving.
to- okay. If y'all need to contact anybody, contact Public Affairs Office.
Roger
Major
that.
Bono, or I believe the other guy's name is Dewey Mitchell.
Roger.
All right.
Also, are you familiar with a place called AP Hills?
Roger.
Okay, so you know what happened there?
Yes.
Okay, my boss wanted to remind you that next time it could happen again.
And again, right there by the base is 2,000 illegals, literally like they're on vacation or something, playing soccer, with HEB meals being delivered to them, complaining about it.
Yeah.
And you're a reporter. You're bad.
Yeah, I'm evil. I'm not one of those new dreamers, apparently.
You're an honorably discharged combat vet. You're bad.
You get taken to the basement.
Yeah, take it to the basement.
Leanne, give us the good news. We've got some good news here about the power of the people, the power of this show. Because this was launched on this show. She chooses this show above CNN, Fox to launch stuff on. She goes on all that after. And she credits this broadcast. Credits you, the food babe.
Exactly.
And we've got Leanne to break it down.
Yes, exactly. So less than 24 hours, she launched the petition yesterday on this show, The Food Babe, saying, it's time for beer makers to post their ingredients. She's not even saying on the bottle, just post them online. And later that evening, Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors announced that they were going to be posting the ingredients. Initially, Anheuser-Busch, they've done Budweiser and Bud Light. So they've put their two, most popular brands, their ingredients are up online now, and then they're going to be releasing the rest of them soon. So now it's a matter of...
Just because we demanded it.
Absolutely.
Because they've seen the power of people not complying.
Yeah.
This is the power of the market with your votes, with what you purchase.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they said. As American consumer needs evolve, we want to meet their expectations. And so that's what our needs are evolving. We're demanding, label this stuff. What are you giving?
Nothing can stop a well-spoken, pretty girl just asking for something reasonable.
Right.
That's why 80% of advertising targets women, because men follow women. And we need to get the women woke up in this country. And when they do it, it's over for the establishment.
Right. We are very powerful. Like we say on the show all the time, that's the corporations, running the world and everything. But the consumers run the corporations.
That's right. And women are the main consumers. Stay there, Leanne. Let's come back with 5 more minutes on this. And then we've got our guest coming up, Krieger, on the latest banking scams. And then I'm going to break down the biggest story. I mean, it's huge. Ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Nimmo and I are going to devastate the globalists by the end of the show today with total proof that Saudi Arabia, the Pentagon, and NATO are funding the entire al-Qaeda operation and are turning them loose to take over Iraq right now because the Iraqis are trying to get out from under Sharia law. I mean, this is unbelievable. It's total proof. We have the whole history of it. In fact, guys, you're printing me backup documents and articles to show people when I go over this. I mean, I have total proof, but I just want to show people each piece of it is so big at the bottom of the hour. Print me just the encyclopedia breakdown on the founding of Saudi Arabia in 1901 to 1930 and the King Saud, who was literally just had like a 200-square-mile area, but British intel the whole time funded him. Lawrence of Arabia, they act like one guy did it, and it was 1916, and oh, he went and took over Syria and all this baloney. It's a proxy army of the British royals, the Rothschilds, and it's public. And I'm not going to sit here while our dirtbag government turns the whole Middle East over to Al-Qaeda, and then they'll let Al-Qaeda blow something up over here so they can grope little kids at the airport. I'm done. I mean, I am just, where are people's outrage? Well, they don't understand. Even though it's like 2 + 2 = 4. I'm going to break it down. And then we've got devastating proof. I'm not going to say it before Don's article he's been working on 2 days comes out. Devastating proof that this illegal alien thing was all staged and pre-planned. The head of the Border Patrol says that, and I want to make sure Adon puts that in his article, but Adon, who was it? It was David Knight found this, right? And then went and told Adon. Who was it figured out that it was you, Leanne, the FEMA connection? I still you were talking about Knight and you researching it. Don't give anything away, but man, it was, I can't believe it. I just can't believe how obvious all this is. So
that's crazy.
I mean, this will be proof for people that they staged all this.
Right. But, you know, I want to correct you. You're not allowed to call the children illegals.
I'm not allowed to say the word bossy either. And my kids have to eat what Michelle Obama says.
Right, exactly.
No, we're going to eat what we want to eat in our own research. Tell us about what happened with the beer. This is exciting.
Well, and Michelle wants them to eat Subway, which is another one of those great
plastic.
petitions.
Well, we got the plastic out.
Yeah, another thing launched on this show, and one day later, Subway was like,
we'll take the plastic out of the bread.
We'll take the yoga foam mat out of the bread. Since you insist on eating things that are not, you know, harming you detrimentally. But yes, so if you go to the beer, they have a global website, Tap Into Your Beer, and you'll see there that they've started listing the ingredients for Budweiser and Bud Light, but there's so many other beers that need labeled. And I kind of feel like this was obviously, they felt the heat, and they're like, we need to respond to this immediately, and we'll put out our beers that only have these natural ingredients. Who knows what's in the myriad of other beers that are out there. Obviously, they have high fructose corn syrup and stabilizers and things that are airplane de-icing liquid. So we'll see if they change their beer ingredients to suit the people's demands, but we'll see.
What's wrong with phenylalkyline?
I don't know, man. You know, makes those planes fly.
Well, this is just stunning, yet again, the power of consumerism. Look, you couldn't find organic 10 years ago. Look, it's everywhere now.
Exactly.
And there's going to be problems in that and adulteration, but we're moving in the right direction. If we just get mad and get involved and study the details and don't be zombies, don't be lazy. It's fun to not be lazy, Leanne.
It is, absolutely.
You can kind of go to the extreme like me and become insane, but other than that.
Well, even then, you know, it used to be that people that wanted organic food were just fringe conspiracy theorists and crazy, and now this is like, it's $1 billion empire with
it's way more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know how big the organic, it's got probably 50 billion a year.
Yeah, it's billions. So it's not fringe. And that's the thing. If you push the envelope and you push back against...
Calling us space cadets doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's like in Scarface when he calls him a space cadet. He goes, no, I'm not. It's the same mind control game. I'm not a space cadet. You are. Good job, Leanne. I am going to prove on air conclusively that NATO, the criminals that run the United States, Saudi Arabia, and British intelligence, along with the French, are on record arming and funding and commanding the al-Qaeda invasion and takedown of Iraq. And Kurt Nimmo is doing an article as we speak in just 5-6 minutes during 2 breaks. 2 breaks combined, I guess 6 minutes. We pulled this research up. This is just some of what's coming up. The Insider newspaper, British Special Forces caught dressed as Arab terrorists. running around engaging in terror attacks. That was also in the BBC. The airlift of evil. NBC News. 40,000 Taliban and al-Qaeda flown out to safety and paid after the invasion in Afghanistan. They were the real al-Qaeda. They put 14-year-old kids in ditches to be bombed by NATO and the U.S. to act like there was a war. Then they fund real al-Qaeda insurgents and Taliban to continue to attack our troops, so there's a reason to be there, claiming they're fighting them to get the $500 billion in opium out each year. They went from 7% of world opium production to 93% of world opium production. And I want that for my report, guys. This is almost like Edge of Tomorrow, where I tell you in this part the facts and prove it, and then I come back later and redo it 40 minutes later with the actual article. So we get better each time. You can just type in 93% of opium production coming out of Afghanistan, and then in the article, it'll be AP, Reuters, BBC. It's a well-known number, 7% previously. So that's what the liberation was about. And how many trillions has been spent in Iraq and Afghanistan? See, it's a simulant. Just like you put bacteria in a septic tank so it operates, they put al-Qaeda in, like you put in the microbes to make the beer, so you got a war. And they're real. You let the gremlins in, and then you come and knock on the door and go, I hear you got a gremlin problem. Pay me everything you got, and I'll clean those little buggers out. And they go and they get them out in 1990, 91. They get them over here. They get them in 2003, and then when you're not looking, they open a little box, and a bunch of other ones run into the house. It's the Pied Piper, folks. So that's coming up. Incredible border news, incredible Putin news. I'm going to cover it all today. Before I go any further and go to our great guest, this hour is brought to you by the great folks at MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. With all the instability, with the globalists wanting you to be dependent, you don't need to be dependent. You need to be independent. They have the best storable foods out there, super high quality, organic, great customer service. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex or 866-229-0927. You need storable food. And, hey, the great part about it is this is insurance you can eat. Get your storable foods today, folks. And continuing here, we also want to encourage everybody out there to visit InfoWarsLife.com. And when you go to InfoWarsLife.com, you can check out some of the most life-changing, for me personally, supplements out there. Nobody's got the X2 nascent iodine. We've got Survival Shield. I mean, it turns, if you put it on a hot plate, that's the pure iodine we put in it. No one has iodine of this purity, 99.99. No one has anything even near this from the actual deep earth crystals. Everybody else gets it out of seaweed. You put it on a hot plate, not the Survival Shield. It's been put into the palm oil, palm glycerin. You put the raw stuff in there on a hot plate, it turns into gas. It doesn't ignite, it turns into gas. I forget the term for that. But that's how pure this is. And we've got a video of the tour of the facility up on the shopping cart at InfoWarsLife.com. And X2 gives me so much energy and has detoxed me so much, it just blows my mind. The old Survival Shield turns purple because it's real nascent iodine. The new stuff turns bright purple, but is bright red in the bottle, like red kryptonite or something. And then all the major leading competitors, believe me, we tried to find other suppliers. That's how we found this such great stuff, was looking everywhere, turns black, which from our research means it's not really nascent iodine, boys and girls. It's bound. Nascent's supposed to be in the pure form. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. And we have a sale going. We're going to keep providing it on the weaker regular Survival Shield. It was excellent. We've taken it to a new level. And your purchase of the products makes the transmission possible. Please also support our local AM and FM affiliates. It is essential to support the local sponsors and let them know you're buying from them, whether it's a car dealership or a restaurant, because they sponsor this show or this station you're listening to. And it's essential to spread the word about that station and to become sponsors. The Obama bots and the Democrats are doing what they've done to Limbaugh and others, and Beck. They are going and trying to get the stations to kick us off. The stations are laughing. Obviously, if a station puts us on, they care about freedom. They know the country's in deep trouble. There's not going to be a country if we don't turn this around. So, oh, big deal, you called and complained. But the stations are letting us know about it. And they're following MSNBC talking lines that Alex says Harry Reid did it for sure. No, I said Harry Reid sure gains from this. And either way, an organic, sick culture of death and abortion cause these type of sick killers, or it could be staged because these governments have staged things before. Fast and Furious is a staged gun operation that killed thousands. Okay, that's CBS News. They stage it to blame it. We have the memos. They've done it before. That makes them suspects, okay? Undoubtedly, the patsy, or whether he's real, is out of his gourd nuts. It's why I have guns to protect myself. Looks like what methamphetamine does. I mean, meth's a terrible thing. That's the word coming out. They were on a bunch of drugs and multiple three-time losers for all sorts of stuff. And, you know, it looks to me like meth heads. And I've seen enough meth heads to know what they look like. Everybody says it. They look like two meth heads. Man, I'm sick of meth heads. I've known people that were totally normal and got on that stuff and turned into total demons. And that show about Breaking Bad, people got on it because of it. I saw news articles. It made it more popular. It's like suicide education makes kids go commit suicide. Even ABC News admits it. I'm going to shut up and go to our guest. I appreciate him coming on. He himself was in, I guess, Army internal security in Vietnam, so he knows how corrupt the system is. We've had some nice private discussions. But his new book, Clouded Titles, it's a new edition. Mayday edition just came out. We sell it at InfoWarsStore.com. And who really owns your home? I remember 15 years ago having experts on and not even believing it myself till I saw documents going, they're selling your mortgage up to 50 times. And then I would see court cases where it was true and couldn't believe it still. Now everybody knows it and just goes, oh, they're totally criminal. Well, this is how to stop them and protect yourself. Most lawyers don't even know this. He gives seminars. I've had them on. Lawyers that are in USA Today and stuff, beating the feds, Wall Street Journal. We get them on. They're learning a lot from Krieger. And he's on with us right now, Dave Krieger. Dave, you've got a lot of new breaking news for us today, and I appreciate you coming on. But I want to just shift gears back for a moment. As a veteran, what is it like for you to watch Baghdad falling to al-Qaeda today? Baghdad falling is the headline. Exodus and chaos spreads. UN, 800,000 refugees. Christians on the run. Terrorist, full-blown army. Medieval Sharia law imposed, roads lined with decapitated police and soldiers, Iraqi government paralyzed, thousands of soldiers captured, Iran deploys forces, Americans evacuate, U.S. secretly flying drones, worst case scenario, vets, what was the point? It's like punch in the gut. That's what's on Drudge right now. We're writing a master article that'll prove they were armed in the West by NATO and Obama to destabilize and bring down the country for Saudi Arabia. And guess what? The Belfast Times has an article with the documents. Kurt was looking around to prove what I was saying, and it was like, oh, it's admitted. Saudi Arabia is taking down Iraq, their archenemy right now, and Obama's got drones bombing a few goat herders, acting like they've done something. This is beyond Revenge of the Sith scenario.
It is. I'm just in shock. It's like, you know, why were we there in the first place if it's going to come to this?
But I mean, the banks sell mortgages 50 to 100 times. The government's arming the Mexican cartels. They're arming al-Qaeda while taking my rights away. I mean, how are they getting away with this?
Good question. I mean, America, you know, lets it happen. Just like they let what's gone on in the mortgage industry happen. People were promised, you know, pretty much a house. You had a right to own a home in America. And so, you know, we bought that carrot, hook, line, and sinker, and everybody ran out. As a matter of fact, the Haas Institute just put out a new report that basically outlines by markets and by 395 different zip codes how displaced this market is and how many homes, the percentage of homes that are actually upside down in value as compared to their mortgages. And it's just unbelievable. In the minorities, the Hispanic and African American communities are more affected than most of us. And
Bill Clinton sold it like it was meant to help them. And oh, we love you, Bill, just like letting all the illegals in right now, supposedly to help them. No, it's not. I mean, it has been to wreck
for it, and there's more of them being foreclosed on now than ever before, and the foreclosures continue.
It's meant to wreck this country. I want to break down the breaking news with you. The book is available at InfoWarsStore.com. It's clouded titles, new updated editions with case sites. This is the Bible of getting your home back into your hands, stopping the banks. I mean, this thing should be $1 million, but it's very affordable. InfoWarsStore.com. Stay with us. But I'm going to send our reporters back down there into some other bases to get even more photos and footage as well. In fact, the Daily Caller is welcome to use the footage we shot that's in the article that Adon and others wrote yesterday. We've got some big breaking news on that front coming up as well. But I've just got to list these headlines and go to Krieger. Obama admin forbids lawmakers from taking photos of illegal immigrant facility. Yeah, they're not letting the press in, so we just went in. That's what real press does. Border Patrol changing diapers, heating baby formula for surge of children. Notice how they use the term national security to keep reporters from knowing something while they're destroying the country's security? Our future rests on dreamers. Feds vow to reunite minors with their parents. See, get the kids here, fly the parents here, they're all legal. And it bankrupts the country further. Can I get a free plane ticket somewhere from the government? No, I forgot it's my money to begin with. I mean, this is just getting out of control. While Iraq falls to al-Qaeda and they murder Christians, the Jews that are left, and the Shiites, and Iran is mobilizing now because they understand this will be an invasion probably into the west of Iran because they're arch enemies with Saudi Arabia. This is Saudi Arabia taking over. And by the way, it turns out it's on TV in Saudi Arabia they're doing this. Then they're marching tens of thousands of men to be shot in mass graves, you name it. The al-Qaeda forces, it is an organized Saudi Arabian brand new vehicle takeover. We're showing footage right now of tens of thousands of men, women, and children being marched to their deaths. Christians mainly. And people are fleeing, 800,000 refugees. You know, Krieger, I'm kind of going over you here today. I appreciate you coming on because it's like breaking news. Like if it was a plane crash, we wouldn't even be able to interview you. But this is important about the fraud of the mortgages. So we're going to keep you here. I appreciate you bearing with us. I'm looking at this footage right now, and I'm really having trouble. I mean, it's just all hell's breaking loose, and it's not an accident. The media's like, whoa, al-Qaeda's taking over. Our evil government is behind this, okay? I want to make that clear, folks. But the long segment's coming up, just in this short one. Tell us the new news you've got and the highlights of the war going on with the big banks stealing people's houses.
Well, I'm wearing black today, Alex. That's because I'm mourning for MERS. They just got a beat down in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, and yesterday they released an opinion, 31 pages long, in Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems, Inc. This particular ruling, 31 pages, basically they upheld the 4 of the 5 counts that were brought by various plaintiff appellants, one of which was contesting these fraudulent documents in the land records, and that is the one count that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld and reversed and remanded for rehearing. This was basically stopped by what we call the MDL panel in Phoenix, led by Justice Teilborg, James Teilborg. He's not my friend. I'd like for somebody actually to go audit his finances to see how much financial stocks that this guy owns. But, you know, frankly, there were some homeowners in Arizona, as well as California, Nevada, Oregon, and South Carolina that are extremely thrilled today with this Ninth Circuit Court ruling, because what it does, in effect, is it upholds Arizona Revised Statutes 33-420A, which says that it's illegal to record a fraudulent document in the land records. This goes right along with the stuff that's going on right now, because we have some bigger breaking news besides this Ninth Circuit ruling. MERS got the beatdown it deserves, and now they actually get to go in and try and prove some of the fraudulent documents that were introduced in this case. And even the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals saw differences in the signatures of even some of the foreclosure mill attorneys signing these documents. I mean, it's incredible what this case does and what kind of Pandora's box it opens. And Alex, speaking of Pandora's boxes, New York attorney Linda Torelli, in a bankruptcy case, the Carcel Franklin bankruptcy case, managed to uncover what I've got in my hand right here, the front page of a document, and it basically says Wells Fargo Home Mortgage Foreclosure Attorney Procedural Manual, version 1. And what this manual does is it instructs attorneys, if they don't have a particular document, to get online, get in the system that they use, this little inter-office communications third-party data center, and communicate with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage team in Minneapolis. And if they don't have, like, for example, a promissory note with all the endorsements and signatures on it to prove their case, well, just contact us here at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage and we'll make one up. And then we'll just send it to you.
And for
you
those that don't know, stay there. That's a huge federal felony, state felonies. That's operating as a title company when you're not one. It's counterfeiting. And
yeah, it is. And it's ridiculous because, you know, everything what this Ninth Circuit ruling just did is it just added.
Stay there, Dave. We're going to come right back to you. It's off the charts. It was a few months ago. We actually had on the lawyer for the folks in Florida where Bank of America took their house that they'd bought a decade before for $1 million cash. Bank of America never even had a deed before. I'm going from memory. He was even on CNN. They just said they had it and came and took their house. And then they went to court, and the judge said, yeah, there's no deed. You paid for it. You have the deed. The house is yours, or they've got to pay for all the fees. Bank of America wouldn't pay it. So the judge told the police, the constables, go in there and take the money out of their cash registers. Take it out of their vault. That's what should be happening. They should all be arrested, folks, and this would all end. But see, they're above the law. They can run fast and furious. They can run Benghazi. They can turn al-Qaeda loose to let them take over the whole Middle East for Saudi Arabia. And they just think it's okay. They can just, Obama can wave a wand and release prisoners, violate federal law. He can wave a wand and say, bring your kids up here. Now we're going to bring your families up. We're going to pay for everything for you. Wave a wand and put veterans on death lists and not give them treatment. It's called dictatorship. It's called government going crazy. It destroys stability. It destroys everything. And anybody that's owned land or owned houses or dealt with stuff, and we've got family land, quite a bit of it here and there, it's a hassle to keep your land. People moving fences, people claiming they've got it, people trying to adversely take it, the fines, the fees, the regulations, title companies making mistakes. I mean, there's a reason a lot of folks don't have land and can't keep it. Being successful, it means you got to stay on the ball. Well, when you get Wells Fargo or you get Bank of America or you get all these companies like he was just talking about, taking houses that were never even theirs, selling houses 10, 20, 50, sometimes 100 times. But I want you to go back and talk about the bank you just dropped the bombshell on. You mean it's come out in a court case? I wasn't aware of this. I searched it during the break, and there it was in the news. That they're now finding in discovery in court cases that they are actually dummying up documents and sending it back to lawyers to then, it's not just counterfeit, it's not just operating as a state-certified title company. I was thinking about it. It's violating notary laws. It's violating, it's lying to the court. It's perjury. I mean, you're the expert on this. You train the lawyers. What is it? Am I getting it right here, Dave?
Well, you are, Alex, and the thing is you know, I should put you on my soapbox because you do as equally good a job. You know, the thing is we try to educate, and, you know, the hardest thing is to try to find attorneys that want to stay plugged in. That's been our biggest problem here. And, you know, what I've done is I've set up a chain of title assessment class in Las Vegas, August 22nd through the 24th. You've got to go to cloudedtitles.com to look at it and download this flyer. Not only do I have the 101 version of this class to introduce, I'm inviting homeowners, investors, attorneys for homeowners currently in the foreclosure process. Not only do I have this 3-day class going on, but I also have a panel discussion with 5 attorneys who are coming in from all over the United States of America to share their secrets of how they're winning quiet title actions, how they're getting with prejudice dismissals in banking cases, how they are attacking and opening up cases that literally there was no hope to litigate. You've got to take this class. This is the only class I'm doing this year. This is a 3-day event. You go to cloudedtitles.com and register. I only have about 70 seats available total in the room so that we can maintain some sort of semblance control and make sure that everybody learns. Again, this is open to attorneys. It's not CLE, but hey, you're going to get an education, and you can ask 5 attorneys in a panel discussion what's going on with your mortgage and get answers. This is the only place in the country, folks, that we have actually set this up to make it happen, and it's going down in Vegas. The only way to get the information is to go to cloudedtitles.com to get it. Now, this leads up to my next point. Those of you having issues with attorneys, I've actually been speaking to attorneys right now because you might be a homeowner who's stuck in a rut, who doesn't know where to turn, and you see all these ads or you hear these talk shows and commentaries about attorneys and foreclosure rescue scams. You have to be afraid of that too, and I've even asked several attorneys to give me some sort of indication. What do you look for if you're a homeowner asking an attorney? You're interviewing one, you want to retain them to help save your house, and you don't want to be scammed. And the top 7 answers were: 1, you should avoid attorneys that make empty promises or guarantee any kind of legal outcome. You need to avoid any attorney who won't give you a straight answer when you ask him what his objectives are for challenging the promissory note. You should avoid any attorney who's not willing to consider to offer to work on a contingency fee or a percentage basis. You should avoid any attorney who wants a sizable retainer, which a lot of them do, and then they want high monthly payments that you could be making to the mortgage company if you knew who you were paying. With this MERS mess, half of us don't know who we're paying, so that's even more of a problem. And then when they want you to make these payments for an undetermined amount of time, this is kind of like, make the attorney making you their monthly annuity. That's not right either. And if they don't explain all the risks involved and they don't disclose all the potential setbacks that you might face, maybe you need to keep looking. This is the problem that we're having right now because, when I was doing this forum in Florida a couple of weeks ago, we actually had an attorney get up and apologize for the way the system was behaving, because more and more attorneys are starting to understand that the chain of title is where it's at in litigation, but a lot more attorneys are starting to understand why we need chain of title assessments, and this is what I teach in these classes. Unfortunately, more judges also understand chain of title than they do these securitization issues that are being brought up. And there's more established cases now that are allowing a homeowner to challenge their deed of trust or mortgage rather than the note. So, these are real important, especially in light of the fact that a lot of judges out there still are convinced the homeowners owe somebody. And we have them arrogant enough to say, well, I'll tell you what, you pay me, and, the judge is telling the homeowner, you pay me and I'll figure out who the money goes to. I mean, that's just sheer arrogance on the part of the court, and it's obvious that they are afraid that if they don't rule in favor of the banks, then their 401k that's all invested in financial stocks is going to go down the toilet. And, frankly, I think that's unfounded. I think that, if it drops a few pennies, they'll be lucky. What I'm even more worried about now is what's going to be happening later this summer. My company, DK Consultants LLC, as you know, Alex, we did the Williamson County land record audit, and the last time I was on your show, we explained all of this and how it rattled MERS's cage. Well, I'm going to rattle MERS's cages again, and in addition to rattling MERS's cage, we're also going after all the banks, the servicers, the document mills. DK Consultants LLC has just been retained to do another county land record audit for the purposes of going to the grand jury. And so in this particular audit, this is a comprehensive forensic examination of the land records. And I'm not even going to tell you what county it's in because I'm sworn to secrecy on this. I can tell you it's going to take place, and I have attorneys coming in from all over the country to participate in this comprehensive examination, including, top flight auditors and whistleblowers that have actually been on the ground and have seen this document manufacturing. They are going to actually be participating in this forensic exam to come up with enough information out of the land records to go after the powers that be, including MERS Corp. I won't be happy, Alex, until MERS Corp's doing the perp walk. All their board of directors, I want them shut down.
The problem here is that they've been using in the last decade, as this news has started to come out, especially since 2008, the last 7 years, They've been using the crisis and the crime they created to try to then change law. Instead of following the law and getting in trouble, they're trying to just by fiat have judges and courts and states and the feds change things bureaucratically. Are things getting better now or worse? I mean, in the case of derivatives, that, of course, this whole mortgage thing is part of, to elaborate on it, we know the derivatives is worse than it was in 2008. We were forced to bail out. So what's the gestalt on that, the current state of it?
Well, no, the current state of securitization is they're still doing it. In fact, they are taking all these rental contracts, all the houses that they've sold to investors, and they portfolioed it into like Morningstar and BlackRock and Carrington Mortgage Services, Alex. They are taking these houses and doing option contracts, basically rental agreements on them, and they're securitizing all the contracts on Wall Street, creating another big bubble, and they know these people aren't going to be able to pay their rent. They're putting people in there they know that might default so that they can go collect on more credit default swaps, and, you know, that's what they do. They turn the derivative into a swap. They bet against it. They know that, you know, they're putting in subprime renters. You know, if they can't pay their mortgage, what makes you think they're going to be able to pay their rent? You know, and as much as they'd like to admit it, you know, the thing about mortgage loans versus rental contracts, a little bit different parameters. Not as much scrutiny for a rental contract, is there? So now we've got an even bigger picture. This is going on Wall Street, unfortunately. And the sadder thing, Alex, is the 49 states AGs had this settlement going on, and all the banks just seem to be ignoring it. The robo-signing is still going on. We're finding constant evidence of it right here in June of 2014. I'm doing chain of title assessments on a regular basis and running into stuff that's being recorded within the last 2 or 3 months, even as the banks are being taken back to court by people like Eric Schneiderman up in New York, the attorney general there. They've gotten Bank of America on hundreds of violations. They've had, you know, hundreds of complaints just within a 6-week period from homeowners in New York State that are saying, hey, the banks are not doing what they said they were going to do. They're catching them in all sorts of different violations. And so now the AGs are having to go back in and say, well, apparently you didn't understand the settlement issues here. That's going to be a real big problem, especially after we get the results of this comprehensive forensic examination to the table and let the state's attorneys look at it, because I want to see this thing go to the grand jury, and I want to see racketeer influence corrupts organizations involving MERS, who, you know, they claim to be an agent and a nominee for anybody, and they're robo-signers, those 20,000 minions out there. They have a signing agreement with MERS. That creates a nexus or a bond between MERS
exactly, and it's only going to continue.
Frankly, it doesn't do us any good, you know, to sit back and just let this stuff happen.
Sure.
You know, basically because, you know, we can't control what they do. This is problematic for all of us. Not just, you know,
sure,
the county that I happen to be doing the audit in, but it's also problematic for every single county in the United States of America.
All right, Dave. Well, listen, appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon. Folks can find out about that seminar on your website, Clouded Titles. We'll talk to you again soon. And the book is available. The average person doesn't know any of this. Even most lawyers don't know this, or they put you through the system and just collect a bunch of fees off of you. There's a lot of frauds out there. There's a lot of good lawyers as well. There are a lot of frauds out there. They don't even know what's in Krieger's book. I've been researching this since about 96, 97. Patriot folks would come and bring these documents to me and tell me about it. I'm like, you're nuts. There's no way that's going on. And then about a decade ago, I learned it was all true, researched it. I read his book, and I know a lot about this, folks. And this 10 times the knowledge I had is in this book. Okay? I mean, I know how to go draw stuff up in court filings, you name it. And I've done it before myself. Now, over the years, I've got good lawyers and things that can do things for me. But I'm not bragging. I just know how to do a legal filing, going off precedent, copying other filings, you know, changing them. Pro se. This is what lawyers are using, clouded titles, but it's easy to understand. It's off precedents. It's updated every year with the new precedents, the new cases. And we have a lot of lawyers on that recommend Krieger's book that are winning against the banks. And if they've made mistakes or they violated the law, you can basically kick their butt. Instead of going to one of these shyster lawyers who doesn't know what's going on or who doesn't care. The book is available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. One other plug today. It's a $29.95 value. We did this sale 2 years ago. They all sold out in a couple of weeks. Looks like it's going to happen by the middle of next week again, because we have a limited number. It's stainless steel stand for all the ProPure, incredible gravity-fed filters that cut the glyphosates out of the water. You better do that if you don't want your daughter going into puberty when she's 7. You know, the new average is about to be 8. It was 13 100 years ago, and then 12 20 years ago, and now it's 10. And it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it makes me very angry that, you know, then my kids will have kids that go into puberty when they're 5. I mean, kids are going into puberty now at age 3 by the thousands. Look it up. And it's not a crisis. You better religiously filter your water. And it better be one that cuts out glyphosates and fluoride like the ProPure. You better eat organic, myself included. I mean, I need to start being more focused about it because it's out of control. And it's going to affect everybody if it isn't already affecting you. So you can get a free stand and 10% off with promo code WATER. That's the biggest sale we've ever done, with the free stand along with the 10% off at InfoWarsStore.com, or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Just say WATER, and you get the free stand with your purchase and the 10% off. So now, with the promo code WATER, a free stand and 10% off, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. We have another guest joining us, and I went over with that guest, and we have Dr. Wallach in studio. And I tell you, I've read a couple of his books, and they were powerful. I read when I was on vacation last week, and my dad, who's a chemist and also an oral surgeon and a doctor, dentist, doctor of dental surgery, read it. And it's everything I grew up hearing. It's really well-known science about epigenetics. And if you don't get the nutrients you need, that's what triggers the genetic predisposition. What's the word? Predisposition. Yes. Predisposition to have those problems. A lot of people have a that's that one word I can't say. Predisposition. When I get in a hurry, I can't talk. Have a predisposition. If you smoke a bunch of cigarettes, you're going to get lung cancer. Somebody else can live to 105 and smoke cigarettes. They had genetics that were much stronger to not get lung cancer, but they might not be able to handle cold water as much and die of hydrothermia a lot quicker. I mean, that's the thing about genetics. Some people can bench press more. Some women can have 10 babies. Other women can only have 1. Some people have better eyesight. Others don't. So it's nature and nurture. But they're telling you there's no nurture involved. It's all nature, your genes you've got. Well, you may have the best genes for the best heart out there in the world. If I go in there and shoot you in the heart, you're going to die probably. If I put a 12 gauge up to you with buckshot and pull the trigger right into your heart. So this is mainline science, and I read the book before we started selling it, and it's powerful, and it's revolutionary. And this is where he discovered all this, being one of the top zoologists, veterinarians in the country. He was tasked and became famous. I remember him being on TV when I was a kid, white rhinos and other things, with being able to keep animals alive at zoos. They didn't know why they were dying. Well, they were giving them these Purina and other feeds. Not knocking Purina, it's just that they didn't have trace elements they needed. And so it's big money in keeping the tigers, the lions, the bears, oh my, alive. That's how he got into this. So he's going to be joining us to talk about his new book, Epigenetics. I said I'd give you the secrets of Al-Qaeda. The truth is they're not secret. It's hiding in plain view. It's coming up in the next segment. I'll be as concise and focused as I can. And I'm going to do a special report for the news tonight. And I'm going to do it out of the new studio. So we'll get doing them ready. I'm doing it in the new studio tonight. Just that report. You notice it just suddenly happened, like Hitler attacking Poland to launch World War II. Boom. Jihadis out of the west of Iraq and the south take most of the country and are taking Baghdad as it falls. They are executing Shiites, Christians en masse. There are photos, there are video. We've been showing some of that here today. 800,000 refugees are estimated to be fleeing right now. This is unbelievable. If they go into Saudi Arabia and they're Shiite, they'll basically be killed. Saudi Arabia is running this entire operation. And on record, and Kurt Nemo's doing an article on this the last 3 years, they've been arming al-Qaeda in Iraq and in Turkey to then invade Syria. And I said then, They are doing a replay of British intelligence from 1901 to 1931, when they founded the Saudi Arabian Empire, out of a group of vicious, hard criminals that had been raiding spice caravans for thousands of years. And you got to say the Bedouins, this particular group of Bedouins, are really rough, vicious, like Arab Wild Wild West Texans or something. And they took that small group, made them force all the other tribes under them. With British help and weapons, they took over Syria, everything. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Saudi Arabian Wahhabist Sunni. Now, Sunni's 80% of Islam, but the Wahhabists were only like 5%. Now they're about 30%. They're forcing everybody else to radicalize to them. And there are shots of the highways, just tens of thousands as prisoners being marched off to be forced to convert or being killed. And our media is sitting there with a giant hoax saying Obama's bombing them with drones, Obama's fighting back. This is all a setup. They will have a simulation where they will kill some low-level al-Qaeda people that are pouring in armored vehicles, brand new Mercedes and Toyotas and Jeeps. It was all massively staged in their base in the West. Saudi Arabia, NATO, Obama, on record, and they're now taking the country down. This was all planned. They're not just going to take Syria down, folks. They're going to take Iraq down. They had to get rid of Saddam first. Then they had to act like they liberated it. The U.S. pulls out. They drop it to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is conquering at least half of Iraq. They may leave part of the north to be Kurd and Shiite. The plan was always to break it in two, maybe three. Same thing in Syria. You've heard the CIA contractors on the show breaking it down. Benghazi was about shipping the weapons up there. This is mind-blowing. Now, the reason I know how they work is I've studied history. This is all mainline history. They gave the country to Libya, and their flag flies over most of the cities now, al-Qaeda flag. WorldNet Daily's reporting. 200 U.S. contractors surrounded by jihadists in Iraq. So this is real. They're going to kill U.S. troops and contractors. They're going to kill Christians. Oh, it's real. And the highest levels of al-Qaeda understand they're being protected by the West and protected by British intelligence. Al-Qaeda is the New World Order's secret army they use to menace the West so our rights can be taken. Then they use it to overthrow all the secular Arab governments. They tried to have al-Qaeda last year overthrow the Egyptians, remember? They were burning churches, crucifying everybody. So the army came in and threw them out. You see, and the Egyptian government says our government's doing it. It is doing it. Our government runs al-Qaeda, folks. I'm going to come right back and finish up this, but I'm going to go over all the documentation in the next segment. Then tonight, the special report. I hammered this for 3 years, and Ted Cruz and Rand Paul went and looked into it. Did discover that we were acting as al-Qaeda's air force in Syria and Libya and said no more. It's admitted Libya is totally trashed now under al-Qaeda control. Women are wearing burqas, being sexually mutilated. The West isn't really fighting the Somali al-Qaeda folks. They're only fighting one group of them. They're letting them take over Kenya, and Obama's cousin Odinga is bringing them in. And the Kenyans' answer is, we're just going to arm our general public. And then Obama tries to get involved saying, no, 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 don't arm the Kenyans. See, the head of Interpol says, no, it's time to arm the public against Muslim radicals. And our government says, no, no, at the UN. Even Interpol wants to arm people. See, there are good people in the system, folks. And let me tell you, it's scary. And you're in a shopping mall and they come kill 65 people. Women and children get them down the ground and say, are you a Muslim? No, boom, you're dead. So, I'm going to explain this. Al-Qaeda and the Caliphate is a secret army of Saudi Arabia. And now they think we're so stupid, it's sitting in plain view. Here's the Belfast Telegraph, mainstream newspaper. Iraq crisis, Sunni Caliphate has been bankrolled by Saudi Arabia. Bush and Blair said Iraq was a war on Islamic fascism. They lost. No one is... you know, people can get part of it. They don't get it all. It's so obvious, but so over the top. I'm going to explain this again. It's on Wikipedia with links to the British, Army Museum. This is not debated. This is mainline history if you study Middle Eastern history in the 20th century. In 1901, the British Empire openly funded Saudi Arabia to try to push out the Turks and what was left of the Ottomans. By the 1930s, you had Saudi Arabia founded, and it had even taken over other countries, okay? Boom. That's all this is, period. And they're going to use Iraq as a base to attack Europe and everybody else, and then our criminal leaders are going to use the al-Qaeda attacks to take us over. That's the deal. You attack us, we then will let you take over. When they flew 40,000 of them out in the airlift of evil, CBS News, Times of London, and paid them in gold bars, when they did that, it was to destabilize Pakistan. I have had Major General Hamid Gul on that will not talk to anyone else in the West. In fact, it's time to get Gul on ASAP. And he said, my analysis is 100% correct. Former head of Pakistani intelligence. He ran al-Qaeda against the Russians. He said, absolutely, it now works for the West. And absolutely, they're taking all these countries down, and they're destabilizing Pakistan. So you hear, oh, we're bombing to fight al-Qaeda in Pakistan. No, that's any of their enemies. Secular, Wahhabist, Shiite, they don't care. You just hear, oh, another drone strike. They have headlines like, we don't care who we kill. We don't even know who we're killing. It's just meant to destabilize the countries. In fact, when there's drone strikes, it destabilizes the secular government of Pakistan as the radicals aren't sophisticated enough, just like Americans, to go, wait a minute, you know, the radicals work for the globalists. No, they're following the radicals who then say, we need to overthrow this government. The Pakistanis work with the Americans while they drone attack us. See, to drive them into the arms of al-Qaeda. Do you understand this is cloak and dagger stuff, folks? British Special Forces caught dressed as Arab terrorists. Remember the BBC reported on that? Staging terror attacks posing as Sunnis to attack Shiites to get a civil war going. Okay? Just like they're funding Nazis to overthrow Ukraine in a proxy war, and then when the Russians respond, they want a war with Russia. See, it's proxy war. It's World War III, people. And they're turning al-Qaeda loose worldwide. And it's hiding in plain view. Saudi Arabia brags about it. I tend to start a lot of hours with this now, saying I feel like I'm in an episode of Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone. Over 100,000 American contractors are in Iraq. 200 of them are surrounded by jihadists now. That's up on Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com. Oil prices are soaring right now. There's an exodus of 800,000 refugees, the UN says. Christians are on the run in Iraq. Medieval Sharia law imposed. Christians are being lined up and shot in the back of the head. There's video of this. They are flying the flags of al-Qaeda, Saudi Arabia, and the Iraq, quote, caliphate. These are Wahhabists. And they are in brand new SUV, Mercedes, and Toyotas with heavy rockets and machine guns and rocket launchers. And you can look at the photos and the video. They are chanting bin Laden, and they were funded in the West and given bases to attack Syria. And the media thinks you're so dumb, the general public, that you can't find it on a map, that you don't know the difference between a Shiite and a Sunni. And this is it, folks. I mean, it is on. In fact, mainstream media is allowed to show it. Every time we show beheadings or people being killed, you know, they'll try to knock us off YouTube and stuff, and I reach tens of millions every week on that. But you can go see the videos for yourself. I'm going to do a special report after the radio today. They'll be on the nightly news, and I am sick to my stomach right now. The globalists are creating a worldwide crisis to play governments off against each other. There are no more nations. There are no more countries, in their view. They're dissolving the last vestiges of it. They're getting rid of our healthcare system. They've been the best in the world. They're bringing in death care on record. what you see at the VA with the death list, the secret death list, now confirmed. Evil is unlimited when we have no standards. It's because no one has been held accountable for Fast and Furious, Benghazi, Shalindra, all these criminal wars, lying to go into Iraq when it was Saudi Arabia that they said attacked us. And then we go attack the arch enemy of Saudi Arabia at the time, even above Iran, was Saddam Hussein, who had been a CIA officer in '58, trained as an army captain, committed assassinations in Iraq, overthrew the government, was made president in 1979. This is all on record. Was given $40 billion to attack the Iranians. Was told to invade Kuwait by the CIA. They said, yo, you're our proxy army, you invade, to pay us the money back. When he invaded, they went on the news, called him Sodom, which means Sodom and Gomorrah. All the Arabs heard that. All the Muslims heard that as he was calling him a sodomite. Our president was calling him, you know, anal sex Saddam. I mean, that's what it translates to. You know, infidel Saddam. And so they destroy that country, kill over 1 million Iraqis, and then now the final plan. Go back in 2003, wreck the whole place, bring in Monsanto. 5 million Iraqis have left the country, over 1 million dead. This is incredible. We're going to shift gears into something we can do something about here in a moment. But the public's total ignorance of this, and now the country, Baghdad falling, the government falling, because it's full of globalist appointed people who've been paid off with the $80 billion in $100 bills that have been flown in there. They're all being told, stand down and leave, just like the Vichy French stood down for Hitler. 90+%, some estimates are, of the general staff stood down and became the new leaders of France. See, no one knows history, so they're doomed to repeat it. This is an internal takedown operation. How do you think the globalists took over America? They took it over by paying off the politicians and putting their people in over the last 50 years. Same thing. That's why they're so hard to beat, folks. The Federal Reserve isn't federal. It's the IMF and the World Bank. We've had their own insiders like John Perkins come on, the economic hitman. And if he couldn't bring them down, they sent in hit teams to kill people. Hit teams to kill leaders that don't take the payoff. You will have a carpet of gold or a carpet of bombs. They are turning the whole Middle East and Africa over to Al-Qaeda now, to murder Christians in mass. The UN admits it. 300,000 dead, 200,000 of them Christians in the oldest Christian community after Israel in the world. That is Syria. You think it's bad to arm Al-Qaeda to attack and kill Christians in Syria? Folks, they're killing every Christian they find. That's in mainstream news today. And I don't care if it's a Muslim they kill or a Christian. It's just that our government is funding people and giving them weapons. Those weapons are U.S., NATO, Saudi Arabian, Qatari, French, and British. And I'll bet money there's British special forces and Saudi Arabian special forces. I've got mainstream articles right here from 2006 where they caught British intelligence dressed up like Al-Qaeda killing Shiites. Remember that in Basra? Folks, put it up on screen for them. We can pull that article up. You just type in British commandos, freed from jail. They sent tanks into the jail to get them back from the Iraqi army. British commandos caught dressed up like Arabs. I've got it right here. British special forces caught dressed up as Arab terrorists. See, it's the same story, folks. They had Saudi Arabia already take over half the Middle East, 1901 to 1931. Now they're going to take everything over and most of Africa. They're the secret army. Everybody knows the CIA founded the modern Al-Qaeda. Folks, it's beyond that, okay? Now, for the balance of the hour, we're very honored to have him. We're also going to get an interview with him. He's got the time for the nightly news while he's here. I read his book a few weeks ago when I was on vacation. My dad, who's an oral surgeon but also had a background in chemistry and worked at cancer facilities like MD Anderson before he changed careers and decided to become a dentist because my mom got pregnant. It was a quicker career path. Epigenetics, the death of genetic theory of disease transmission. My dad said, this is all just mainline science. It's been known for decades, but none of it's implemented. And he said, this is completely groundbreaking, though, that it's all been put together and that he was involved in so much animal testing, but not mean animal testing, humane animal testing, by feeding animals the trace elements and things they needed versus the ones that weren't getting it when he was a top zoologist veterinarian. I'm not going to reintroduce all that today with Dr. Wallach, but the book is by Joel D. Wallach, B.S., D.V.M., N.D., and also by PhD and others. And we're going to go over all of that today. But it's got 3 authors. Epigenetics, this could change everybody's lives. Because, yes, genes affect us, but there's switches. And that's the issue. There's nature, but there's also nurture. And so Dr. Joel D. Wallach is here with us. The book is available at InfoWarsStore.com. So you get valuable information. And you also support everything else we're doing for free speech. So find out there. He also heads up Longevity, or is the founder of it and the researcher. His son heads it up. He's separate from it. And you can find all that at InfoWarsHealth.com or InfoWarsTeam.com if you want to become a distributor. But we're not going to harp on that too much today. This book, forward by Jeffrey S. Bland, Ph.D., is your masterwork. What do they call that? Your magna opus. Great job. Tell folks about the book, and thank you for coming to visit us here in Austin.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. Gosh, what a great introduction. I really, really appreciate that, and appreciate being picked up by your dad at the airport. What a great guy. First time I met him, just super, super.
Well, he works with us full-time now.
Yeah.
Obamacare, he was managing over 20 dental offices and medical facilities, and he went ahead and stopped doing that.
Well, you got a great man there. I just really enjoyed him from the airport. Thank you.
Thank you.
But, yeah, the book represents 40 years of collecting information, plus on my own personal research with universities, the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation. And by the way, when it comes to care of animals, I'm one of the 5 authors of the Animal Welfare Act of 1964 to protect animals from cruelty, because medical doctors, when they'd have laboratory animals on experiments, they'd go away with the weekend and they wouldn't pay anybody to clean up after them and feed them and water them. And they would eat each other, cannibalize each other over the weekends. And they would make up data to finish the experiment because the animals had eaten each other because they didn't take care of them. So I wrote this Animal Welfare Act, which was passed in 1964, has been in place since then. So I'm very proud of that.
And I've had your lawyers on that are some of the most famous lawyers out there. You are responsible in Longevity for most of the big cases, keeping supplements legal. I mean, literally, people ought to be kissing your butt, but most folks don't even know. People don't know who Chuck Yeager is now. They just don't know anything.
Well, yeah, Jonathan Emore, the lawyer, he actually helped us sue the FDA 8 times in federal court. We prevailed every time. And in one case, we actually went up to the Supreme Court, and they signed off on the suit, and we won it by default. So very proud of those things. And because of that, we have folic acid in prenatal vitamins to prevent spina bifida now.
That was your discovery.
That was it. And then also we got the ability to say you can prevent stroke and coronary thrombosis and pulmonary embolism by supplementing with omega-3 essential fatty acids. I got that one through a lawsuit.
This is too important. Skip the network break. Keep going.
Okay. And then the one I really love is you can prevent cancer by supplementing with selenium. And they just fought tooth and nail to keep that.
But finally, they admit that.
Well, they didn't admit it, but the federal judge gave it to us. Okay.
But I mean, in mainline medical literature, they now admit that.
Well, yes.
I mean, they admit if you don't have this, you're going to get this. I mean, your genes, your body needs this.
Well, you said it exactly right, Alex. And that's the whole...
I read your book.
You said it exactly right. That you can have the greatest genes in the world, but if you don't give them the raw materials, and your dad and I had this great discussion about the minerals that are necessary as cofactors and catalysts for the genes to work, for the DNA to work, for the RNA to work, you can have DNA that will get you to live to be 200 in a healthful way, but if you're not getting these cofactors, you might die at 48 of a heart attack, even though you have the potential, the capacity to get to...
And that's been proven by the marathon runners or some of the shortest-lived people because they're not getting the minerals.
Exactly, and they sweat out what they do get.
Yeah, they're drinking 3 minerals, not all the dozens more they need.
That's right. The sports drinks that they use preferentially because of advertisement has 2 minerals in it. The next one has 6 minerals. Our Rebound has 100 nutrients in it, including 77 minerals.
And now it's the hottest thing in the NBA.
Exactly. NBA, the hockey leagues in Canada, the United States, the soccer leagues. And we have the Harlem Globetrotters, the entire team uses it. what is it? The team from Colorado, the Denver Nuggets. The entire team uses this stuff. And so we're very, very excited about this because they're setting the example. It's very tragic. We have about 10,000 kids under the age of 18 who drop dead suddenly each year.
Playing basketball.
Almost all basketball players.
And they kept wondering why, and then
it's a selenium deficiency. They get cardiomyopathy, heart attacks.
The heart needs a selenium. It's electrochemical. It runs out of gas. Zip.
Exactly, and it causes sudden death. And I went to China and actually did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died in Qishan province from this disease. Got it published. And it was for other things, but for cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy, which are more stories. But, and so all these pieces of information are in this book, Epigenetics, and it teaches people how to maximize their life.
Well, I mean, our genetics are the same as they were 50 years ago. Why is breast cancer up 3,000%? No one just, well, we know there's glyphosates. We're not getting the proper minerals. I mean, it's real simple. I mean, but they never want to discuss why all these diseases are off the chart. You know the story of Ted Anderson's dad had Alzheimer's.
Oh, yes.
And then he literally came back, knew who he was, could go fishing, had short-term, long-term memory. And the doctor said, hey, you got vitamin K in your blood. Are you eating spinach? You're not supposed to be doing that. I have you on Coumadin, so you won't have strokes. And ordered him off, and they followed the order, and his dad didn't know who he was in a month. I mean, that's literally like sacrificing yourself. And I have the authorization to tell the story, so I tell it, where people do what the doctor tells them.
Well, you've got your finger on the pulse of what is happening. I just really appreciate you so much because of that. I think you're probably the most well-informed person in America. And you're exactly right. Doctors just look at charts, and I used to think they're criminals, but I think they're just ignorant. And
well, they have Dead Doctors Don't Lie, your syndicated radio program. Tell us about that. I mean, that doesn't lie. They don't live too long.
Well, the average lifespan, Alex, of a medical doctor is 56. Why would anybody want to listen to somebody whose average lifespan is 56 to learn how to live to be 100 and healthy?
I want to listen to an old black lady in East Texas who lived to be 106 because she ate clay out of her backyard every week.
Ah, well, she was getting minerals, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, those old black women, they go, you can see them to this day, and other people now copy them, and they sell it. As you know, they go and they smell it, they taste it, and they get the clay out of the clay banks. And just like you'll catch pregnant women, wanting clay, wanting dirt. That's because what do deer go? They'll go and find dirt that has salt and minerals and start eating it. That's what mammals do.
You're exactly right. And, of course, the Indian nations, Alex, used to fight wars over clay beds because they knew that their women would be fertile, they'd have normal births, the children would be born without birth defects if these women got access to the clay. It was very, very important for the survival of their nations. And we got into trouble. We know the exact moment that happened. It was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882. On Pearl Street in New York City, our health ended in America. And at that moment, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. Within 10 years, Alex, every industrialized nation switched from wood as the universal fuel to electricity. What happened was we no longer had the source of trace minerals and major minerals that we've been using for nutritional supplements for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, which was wood ashes, which we'd been putting in the garden. Well, now we went to electricity. We didn't have the wood ashes anymore, so we lost that source. We dammed up the river to make more electricity and stop the flooding, so we didn't have the silt being re-impregnated into the fields every year when the river flooded. Stop that. After 25 years of the plant sucking the minerals out of the soil, we had to go to chemical fertilizers just to get yields and growth.
That then killed the microbes.
You got it. No nutrition, no microbes, and that's why America is sick. And that's
now look at that incredible chain reaction that's on record, that's in your book. The book's just, you can't put it down, folks. This is, every page is like that, with all the footnotes. And when you know history, it's even more intriguing because you know it's true. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Think of all the GMO and all the stuff they're doing now, what the chain reactions of that are going to be.
Well, you have no defenses because you don't have any nutrition unless you're supplementing with the 90.
Which is in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Exactly.
2.0.
You got a 2.0. That's my favorite. The 2.0, you're getting all 90 essential nutrients. And if you don't have those things, you cannot protect yourself against all the chemicals in our environment and our food. You just can't do it.
Well, I've been doing Beyond Tangy Tangerine, now the 2.0, for about 4 years, and it's been life-changing for me. I mean, I was really unhealthy. I'm still not as good as I should be, but it's been a big reversal. I've turned the ship around. I've lost over 50-plus pounds now. I've got more energy than I ever had, and it is all the supplementation. And the other supplements I took, I didn't know they were chemical. I didn't know they were synthetic. I didn't understand why they weren't working. And so I was like, I'm not going to take supplements. But when I use the longevity products at InfoWarsHealth.com, or when I use the InfoWarsLife.com products that we've developed, you know, it's simple, but it's pure, it's organic, it's supercharged, and I'm literally high as a kite on life now.
Well, you're high as a kite. I've never seen anybody with as much energy as you have. I want to do what you're doing.
Oh, 1 cup of coffee a day now. So.
Well, of course, we're a coffee company, too, so we love coffee. And I'm very excited that...
it has a lot of health benefits, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Coffee itself has been shown to reduce risk of Parkinson's disease, rheumatoid arthritis. And so there's tremendous health benefits of coffee because of the antioxidants in the coffee. Coffee's an herb. Wonderful stuff. We love it. Ours, of course, is Java Fit. Great coffee. And we bought our own plantations now in Nicaragua. And so we know they're organic because we make sure they're organic. We built schools there for the kids, for all the people who work the plantations. They're fair trade. They're all organic. And our coffee's just going crazy.
Awesome. Let's expand on the documentation in the book. I mean, just go through it chapter by chapter if you can. This is the one book everybody needs to read.
Absolutely. Of course, people have to appreciate, Alex, that the halls of science are filled with failed medical theories. Thousands of failed medical theories over the years.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt again, and I want him to turn my mic off because I'm just going to say this. This is what's so powerful here. Mm-hmm. This isn't even just about epigenetics. You assault the cult and all the other failed cults and prove that it's a failed cult, and if we don't turn it around, we're dead. Break it down.
Okay. Well, the important part, the reason why people have to spend the time to read the book and do what it asks them to do is because our children are not going to live as long as us. Our children are the first generation that experts say will not live as long as their parents. And that's because there's no nutrition in the food, and they're following the false precepts of the medical system. Now, you go back to the beginning of time, when things were written down in hieroglyphics and stone art and things, doctors and physicians and philosophers and shamans and sorcerers believed that disease was caused by evil spirits, and the way to protect yourself was to burn goats to the evil spirits and make them happy, and then they'd look kindly upon you.
And the Greeks thought spontaneous generation, maggots just came out of meat.
That's exactly right, spontaneous generation. And then another one was the 4 humors. And if they didn't, black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood, and if you were sick, that meant they were out of balance. And they invented bloodletting about 2,000 years ago. They killed our first president, George Washington, who had dodged all the bullets from the British. And
the father of psychiatry killed him. Yeah,
exactly. Killed him by bloodletting. And they still did bloodletting in America up until 1920. Now, here comes one that I've been looking for this for 35 years, and I found it, Alex. And that is the first scientific article that showed that saturated fats were unhealthy and the vegetable oils and the unsaturated fats, olive oil, coconut oil, were healthy. I've looked for 35 years, and I finally found it 2 months ago in a 2 full-page article in the Wall Street Journal. They did research, 2 full pages. The story goes back to 1901. There's a German scientist by the name of Wilhelm Naumann who invented a machine lubricant for big factories. He made it out of cottonseed oil and also using a little cofactor called copper to turn it into a solid. And they couldn't sell it as soap because people were making soap. And so Procter & Gamble bought it from him and sold it as a food called Crisco. And they killed animal fats, butter and cream, and lard to sell Crisco.
And they had propagandists like Edward Bernays come out and demonize it. We're going to come back and talk about that. This is amazing, how they changed the markets and how they manipulated humanity.
Yes.
Words are like violence that break the silence. And words may mess up something happening with lovers, but words give meaning to our society and our world, and they are what will defeat corruption, fraud, and ignorance. And what Dr. Wallach is getting into here today is the cult-like false science. There's a lot of good stuff if your leg's broken or, you know, you've got a subdermal hematoma. Medical doctors are great. But now even what we know is medical doctors are turning into state-run, computerized people that just do what the death panels tell them. And notice now there's death panels at the VA. All that was real. We know how this works. The rationing, all of it. That's why we better do something here, ladies and gentlemen. We had better get as healthy as we can. And I don't care how unhealthy you are. You're usually not too far gone in my experience. And you can start reversing what's happened. And I've done it in my own life. People can see the difference. I mean, I weigh 277 pounds. And I've gotten down to 220-something. I want to go down to 185 like I used to be. But it's a process, and it's happening even with my off-the-chart stressful life. Even with only getting to exercise sometimes once or twice a week. I was exercising 7 days a week 4 or 5 years ago trying to lose weight. It wasn't working. I exercise twice a week now. Eat a little bit better. Take the longevity products, InfoWarsHealth.com. Take the Survival Shield, super nascent iodine from the Pure Crystals, the Super Male Vitality from InfoWarsLife.com. It has been so amazing for me. And you've heard the rave reviews, so please, you're also supporting the free speech operation, everything else we do when you visit InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsHealth.com. And you can also go to InfoWarsTeam.com. That's the place to go if you want to be a distributor and get discounts from your distributor. It's like $10 to sign up. You can sign up and get free auto shipping there at InfoWarsTeam.com or InfoWarsLife.com and then get free shipping. You can go there and find the book, Epigenetics, The Death of the Greatest Theory of Disease Transmission. And you can also, when you're a member of InfoWarsHealth.com, go to the speaking events that Dr. Wallach, many of the events that he's at. You're speaking tonight in Dallas. Might be too late for that. I'm told most of these are sold out. But how do folks go to that? Some of them are free events. Some of them are paid events when you got a hotel and a dinner. Obviously, you got to pay for that. But what's going on in Dallas, some of the other speaking engagements you're on, and I want to give you the floor to really go through the book with people and give them some of the secrets that weren't secrets 100 years ago so we can really fight back against this sickness system where not the doctors, but the brain bugs up top, the Rockefeller-run medicine, they know exactly what they're doing.
You're exactly right. And of course, the Rockefellers, they go way back to the beginning of 1914 in what was called the Flexner Report. The Rockefellers and the Carnegies paid for a report to be made on all of the various medical schools, about 132 medical schools, and they funded 32 of them because they sold the products that the Carnegies and the Rockefellers sold. And they didn't give any money to the other medical schools, so they just dried up and died. They paid legislators at the federal and the state levels to make medical doctors king, if you will. They protected monopolies, self-policing, and they also paid to have all their competition made into third-class citizens who would not be paid by insurance.
Because competition is a sin, as John D. Rockefeller said. I interrupted, though, with the break. Going back, finish up with the machine oils, what we eat. Okay, well, yes, the Crisco started out as a machine oil for all these huge factories in Europe and the United States. And Procter & Gamble bought it initially to make soap out of it. And there was resistance from mom and grandmom because they were making their own soap. And so they had to figure out that, you know, we could probably sell more of this stuff, this machine oil, as food than we can as soap. And so they began to sell it as food. They got resistance again because grandma and mom had been using lard and cream and butter for centuries. And so they got Ansel Keys, who's another Nazi sympathizer who was on the board of the American Heart Association. And of course, the Nazis on record, they weren't going to just conquer the whole world militarily. And I've got to dig out these documents. It's in some documentaries I saw a long time ago and read about as well. They were going to take over with soft kill, where they adulterated the food and water. They put fluoride in to slowly weaken the population they were in control of. They wanted a stealth kill. And in one Nazi document, they described it like, you know, if you wanted to get rid of wild dogs, you would just poison their water hole. And then they'll never know because it's a slow kill, flavorless poison that they were recommending. And so that's why. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good stuff, Alex. You're right on target. And that's why everybody loves you.
No, continue, though. Okay. It's just they're so diabolical.
Now, that's the right word. That's the right word. And so Procter & Gamble said, we can't sell it as soap. We can't sell it as a machine oil anymore because the main original guys who made it were selling it faster than they could. And so we're going to sell it as food. And they couldn't, they were getting resistance. And so this Ansel Keys, who was on the board of the American Heart Association and on the board of Procter & Gamble, he says, well, let's sell it as a replacement for animal fats. And they came up with an advertising scheme to replace cream and butter and lard with this Crisco, which was a machine oil. They did it very well. They gave $1.7 million to the American Heart Association. This is part of their written history. They cannot deny it. And they endorsed Crisco as a healthy replacement for animal fats like lard and cream and butter for cooking. And as a result, they have killed more Americans and more Europeans than the Nazis ever thought of doing because of heart disease caused by these oils.
In fact, I've seen some doctors and people looking at the statisticians, they believe that these type of false artificial garbage fats that replaced animal fat and natural plant fats may have killed more than cigarettes.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people. Just by mistakes in offices right now, medical doctors in America kill, injure, and infect 15 million Americans every year in their offices.
We had an article a few years ago that we wrote, because it was right there on their site, where even the Centers for Disease Control lists doctors killing people as the #3 cause of death in the country.
It's actually accidents by doctors. Number three. Yeah. Doctors are #1. Just proactively what they do. They killed Andy Rooney. They killed Dick Clark. They killed Neil Armstrong. And they get a walk. They kill these very famous people, very high-profile people. Who kills our top astronaut and gets a walk? If Al-Qaeda would have done that, we'd have sent over drones and blown up baby food factories or something. And here the doctor kills Neil Armstrong, our top astronaut, first guy on the moon, saved 2 doomed NASA missions. The doctor gets a walk. He creeps off into the dark, just like all these doctors who are taking care of these people.
Who's Neil Armstrong? Justin Bieber. I mean, people know who Justin Bieber is. They don't know who Neil Armstrong is.
They don't know our top astronaut, Neil Armstrong?
I'm telling you,
first man to walk.
Young people do not know.
Oh, my gosh.
I'd say 30s and unders, literally, they know how to wear different colored socks and act trendy.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're in trouble. Well, that was the one.
Well, there are a lot of young people that are either waking up or they aren't. I want to be clear.
Okay.
Some of the most awake are young people, but there's also trendies. As long as they just say they're trendy and love Obama, everything's fine. Because they think he's a liberal.
Okay.
I think you're a liberal.
Me?
Well, I mean, in the Thomas Jefferson vein of freedom and truth and justice and choice.
Oh, yeah.
You're pro-Second Amendment, aren't you?
Oh, yes, sir.
You're pro-national sovereignty?
Absolutely.
You're pro-medical rights?
Yes, sir. I was a lieutenant colonel in the military, sir.
I know that, but I'm saying, exactly. So I would call you a classical liberal. I'm just saying the terms don't mean, like a liberal today, how is it liberal to say that your kids belong to the state? That doesn't sound liberal to me.
Well, okay. Well, I want to go on to one more thing there. The theory that vegetable oils were healthier for you than animal
Yes, let's get into it.
It was actually the thing that has killed more people than all the Nazis ever thought of, more than any cigarettes. And, of course, doctors just keep plodding on, even though the FDA came out in February of 2012, said get people off of cholesterol-lowering drugs, get their cholesterol back up. Cholesterol-lowering drugs increase your risk of Alzheimer's disease by 100%, type 2 diabetes by 52%, get them off of statin drugs, and doctors still give them. Well, the next theory that failed was the theory that prions cause mad cow disease and Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. They've never been able to have that proven and transmitted. So they never were able to transmit the disease by taking brains of somebody who died.
What is it really? Yeah, it's a mystery.
It's a copper deficiency.
Yeah.
We actually knew that in 1865. It was a copper deficiency in sheep called enzootic ataxia. When you look at the brain under the microscope of a sheep with enzootic ataxia, it's mad cow disease, it's Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. In people, it's all caused by...
That's right. They just make up a misdiagnosis and make up a new term.
Exactly. And then came the genetics thing. Everything is caused by genetics. We spent trillions of dollars mapping out the human genome. 28 countries were involved. 60 years. The genome was published in 2003. And in March of 2013, the Salk Institute invites James Watson, the guy who got the Nobel Prize for the double helix.
Who also likes Hitler.
Yeah, well, he is a eugenics guy.
Yeah.
He wants to use eugenics to make the master race.
He says black people aren't humans.
Well, he's the master race guy, right?
But he's loved by the liberal, the fake liberals.
The fake liberals.
Yes.
Okay. Well, they ask him, okay, what diseases are going to be cured now? You've gone 60 years. You've mapped out the human genome. There has not been a single disease that's been cured or prevented with genetics. Which one are there? And he gets up in front of this illustrious crowd of Nobel Prize winners and heads of departments of genetics in medical schools, and he says, all the experiments we've done over the last 60 years are irrelevant. We're not going to cure cancer, diabetes, or any other diseases by sequencing genes and coming up with genetically engineered genes. It's not going to happen because none of it's genetic. It's all what he called chemistry, biochemistry, a.k.a. nutrition. And all the reporters ran out of the room. They called their editors. Their editors talked to the medical schools. The medical said, oh, he's an old man. We got 850 genetic screening.
And by the way, here I am discrediting him. He did get the Watson Trust, another family, the IBM folks, to fund him. They funded the Nazi machines, all of it. I mean, he is a big eugenicist. But the point is, he did, at Cold Springs Harbor, develop most of the sequencing. He is smart when it comes to that. And he's saying, yes, we've got to have the obvious. I mean, look, it isn't bad genetics that I have to have oxygen to live. If I get strangled to death or I die, my car runs into a lake, they don't say he had bad genes because his lungs couldn't handle the water. It was that I'm not designed to breathe water. I'm designed to breathe oxygen.
Correct.
I mean, it's like if I smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day, it's not that I'm genetically predisposed to lung cancer. It's that, yeah, it's bad for me. And it flips on, you know, things in my body that makes my body start malfunctioning. Basically, is that what it is?
You're exactly right. And there's 2 pieces. Number one, if you're missing the cofactors, essentially the nutrients, minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fatty acids, which puts you in a very fragile state. You cannot even exist in your environment you're designed for. And then you throw in these toxins that have been created by these monsters of the industry called the pharmaceutical industry. And, of course, that's how we got paid for the war debt in the Second World War. The reparations where we got all of the pharmaceutical companies, which were not publicly traded companies when they were in Germany. They were all Nazis. They were supporting Hitler in the war. And they were privately owned. We're talking about Bayer and Pfizer.
Yeah, Germany was dominating chemicals and pharmacological. Yeah. That's just dominating.
Exactly. And so we took them as payment for the war debt, turned them into publicly traded companies.
Even kept their original heads.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, many of the doctors.
Mengele's family headed up a bunch of that.
Yes.
That's why he was allowed to go.
And he died as an old man in his bed in South America.
Did you hear they just dug up thousands of Irish children in England at an orphanage that they were killing in vaccine studies, and they threw them in a septic tank in the back?
Yes, and they're
not even getting in trouble.
Well, Alex, I was in Canada in March of this year. Canadians, everybody loves Canadians because they're supposed to be nice people, right? Well, they had what they called the resident school system, where they were taking all the Indian children, the native Canadians, if you will, and saying, look, to the parents, they're starving, you're not educating them, we'll take them, we'll feed them, we'll educate them, we'll send them back as doctors and lawyers and engineers. And the parents were starving. Here, please take our kids and feed them and educate them, send them back. Well, they just found a mass grave near a Catholic church in Canada.
Oh, we've had them on. They keep finding
50,000 bodies of children that were used in the experiment. 50,000 bodies. And I was there.
Wow. Wow, we need to get those guys back on. Like 5 years ago, they'd find 20, they'd find 50. You're saying they found the mother lode?
The mother lode, a mass grave with 50,000 bodies and of kids between the ages of 6 and 19 that were given up by their parents to get educated. They were used in tuberculosis experiments.
See, they blame the average white person in American cosmology for all the Indians and experimentation. It's not the average white person. It's evil elites. Israel's done secret tests on Jews, the same crap. The Irish, with the British, did it to the Irish kids. They do it to people here. They would do it with blacks because people wouldn't listen to them when they said that guy killed my baby. But so they did over-target them as well. So there is some racism there. But these people, what do you call them? They're just demons. I mean, how do you inject little Irish kids with stuff you know is really going to kill them and call it a vaccine trial?
Well, you have to appreciate, Alex, that this all goes back to Francis Galton, who started eugenics. He was the one who wanted to accelerate human evolution by, he created marriage licenses so that the bureaucrats could interview people. If you were illiterate, they wouldn't issue a marriage license because they didn't want you to have more illiterate children. And so marriage licenses were created by Francis Galton, who is Charles Darwin's brother. And he was sort of, he invented the first dating clubs because he wanted to have the first tall women marry the first tall men who were all blonde-haired and blue-eyed.
Yeah, they all interbred for 3 generations, and almost all of them were born mentally retarded or dead.
Something like that.
I mean, I'm in a documentary about it. No, you know everything. You know, I got to have you back for like 3 hours.
Okay, sure.
Listen, I mean, we got more segments, but it's just, you know, because you're saying it word for word, all this history nobody knows, and it's just all dead on. It's all in the book. And also, I mean, they knew 20 years ago, as you write about in the book, where they did these different worm studies and animal studies, where they would give them super high nutrient diets, low calorie diets. You say it's a higher one's what's needed, and that they live 3 times longer, the worms.
Yes.
The mice live twice as long. One mouse fed the American diet can't walk. The other one at the same age is running around in circles and lives 3 times as long. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, it's just the basic needs. Again, we talked about earlier in the show, everybody has great genes, but if you're not giving them the raw materials to maximize their ability to achieve the genetic potential, just like a car can go 300,000 miles before you need a new engine. But if you put 6 quarts of water in the crankcase instead of 6 quarts of oil, you might not even go the distance that you would get on a tank of gas. And so you have to do the same thing with your genes. You have to give your genes every nutrient necessary to maximize that potential of 200.
That's like saying I need oxygen to live?
Yes.
You're a conspiracy theorist. So you don't support Common Core 2 + 2 = 5?
No, sir. No, 2 + 2 does not make 5.
Whoa, you're a little bit of an extremist.
Well, I'm a pathologist, and dead is dead, live is live, and nutritional deficiencies are repeatable. And so this is where I come from. These are repeatable. Well,
you know the studies, the hospitals have the worst food of any place.
Absolutely. You want to get sick, you want to die, go to a hospital. In fact, it was a cover article, March 2008, in the AARP Monthly Bulletin. The worst place to be in America when you're sick is an American hospital.
So the truth's coming out, folks. Find the book at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsHealth.com. Epigenetics, the death of the genetic theory of disease transmission. This book is one of the most important ever written. This just broke on InfoWars.com. Proof Obama premeditated immigration crisis. A dizzying number of people are leaving their home countries and embarking on a dangerous journey to the U.S., where federal border guards purposely tasked with enforcing immigration law give little resistance. We're going to put a sub-headline in here. FEMA caught stockpiling for the immigrants months ago. And so they were gearing up to cause this big crisis, to implode it. Also, don't forget this hour was brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. Great, organic, high-quality, non-GMO storable food and other preparedness items. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. And the toll-free number is also on that website if you'd like to be able to give them a call. MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. And their supporters of the broadcast, obviously. Dr. Wallach, you said in a month or so you'll come back for a full 2 hours and take calls on your book that, again, you think you know it all. You read this, I learned so much more, but also so much deep knowledge that hardly anybody knows. I'm not like one of these elitists that's learned all this knowledge, is on a power trip, and doesn't want other people to have it. That's how the establishment operates. I want other people to have it. And to have the minerals, to have the vitamins, to get the Beyond Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsHealth.com, to get our Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, to know that when they want to slice you and cut you up and all this, and you know, and say, well, or we better cut, you know, your breast off when you're 10 years old, you know, because you're going to get breast cancer, you're going to die, it's genetic. Well, yeah, if you're not getting the minerals and drinking glyphosate all day, you bet you are. You bet your kids are going to go into puberty at age 6 now because of all the GMO and all the bisphenol A. And we've got to reverse this curse of the weaponized food, the water, the culture. In closing, talk about breast cancer.
Okay, well, breast cancer is a community-inflicted disease. You said it very well there. You can reduce the risk of breast cancer, Alex, by 462% in any individual woman if she totally avoids eating burnt meat. If she cooks her steak medium rare instead of well done, and doctors say eat your meat well done to avoid E. coli and salmonella. I'd rather deal with salmonella and E. coli than I would breast cancer, right? And so I keep it.
They want us to be total wimps.
Yeah.
Now they want to irradiate all the meat so nothing's in it. Just, I mean, yeah.
And you can reduce the risk of breast cancer by 462% just by eating the meat cooked medium rare instead of well done. You can reduce your risk of breast cancer by 82% by supplementing with that one mineral, selenium. And that was one of my lawsuits against the FDA, which I prevailed in federal court. And then you can actually increase your risk of prostate cancer by 69% by being selenium deficient. I take a milligram a day. You're supposed to take in 200 micrograms, 1/5 of a milligram, but I take in a milligram, a full 1,000 micrograms a day.
You want total bioavailability.
Exactly. And I just swamp myself to prevent congestive heart failure and a type of dementia that looks like Alzheimer's disease called Korsakoff syndrome, which both congestive heart failure and Korsakoff is a deficiency of a single vitamin. I take 28,000 times the minimum.
We've got 1 minute left. It's all in the book, epigenetics. But let me just ask this.
Yes.
What about 2 years ago? You guys did the Clemson study we never talk about with the medical department, what they found with Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Oh, Beyond Tangy Tangerine in our original Ultimate Classic, you can reduce the risk of colon cancer by 95%. This was in cell cultures of human cells with colon.
And that's Clemson.
That's Clemson University, published. You can reduce the risk of colon cancer. You can actually take colon cancer cells, human cells, infected with colon cancer. You can kill 95% of the cancer with...
And it didn't affect the other cells?
Oh, no, no.
What's happening there? Just briefly.
Well, cancer cells don't have the same metabolism as normal cells. And, of course, you give them things that will make normal cell happy, kills the cancer cell.
They thrive in a sick environment. I mean, like that eternal cell line, where cancer cells will live in a petri dish forever.
Exactly.
Our cells won't. But then you give them something good for them, it kills them.
Exactly.
That's why vitamin C, I guess, intravenously has been helping so much. Dr. Wallach, epigenetics, incredible. The book available, InfoWarsHealth.com. Thank you so much for coming to town.
Thank you, Alex. God bless you.
You're amazing. Dr. Jerome Corsi with breaking news on the takeover of Iraq by al-Qaeda, and Obama is helping them. It is off the chart. We're back in 60 seconds. It's only 5 minutes with Dr. Corsi. I'll be back this Sunday, 4 o'clock. London Independent, Iraq crisis. Baghdad prepares for the worst as Islamist militants vow to capture the capital. They're already streaming in. 800,000 have already fled. They're killing Christians and non-Wahhabists on site. Joining us on short notice with his WorldNet Daily exclusive that's up on drudgereport.com is Dr. Jerome Corsi. We only got 5 minutes with him to break down. I mean, I'm seeing the videos, the photos of Christian Iraqis being lined up and shot. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the takeover of the entire Middle East by Saudi Arabian-backed, Western-backed al-Qaeda. This is not Obama dropping the ball, in my view. We're going to find out from the expert Corsi. This is the takedown of the entire region. Dr. Corsi?
Alex, I'm right here.
Yes, sir. You've got the floor. Tell us what's happening.
Well, we've been getting reports all morning out of Iraq that this group of contractors, some 200 contractors, are surrounded at this base. It's Balad Air Force Base in northern Iraq. It was an Air Force base that we were preparing for the F-16s to be delivered that the Obama administration has promised to the Iraqi government. And the reports are that they've been abandoned by the Iraqi military. They are defending themselves, surrounded in the fort, or the base. And that's about all we can get. It's right now about 8 or 9 o'clock over in Iraq, and we're trying to reconnect with Skype and get some current news.
Well, bottom line, they let al-Qaeda build up in the West to go into Syria. We warned this would happen. How bad is this going to get? It looks like the whole country might fall to al-Qaeda.
I don't think that there's any control in the country at all. It looks to me like the Iraqi military is collapsing. So, and the United States military is in a stand-down position. Obama has ordered even airstrikes are not happening in Iraq. So this ISIS, the ISIS group, has got complete run of the country, and the terrorists, I think, are running rampant. I don't think there's anything really...
Well, I mean, I know an al-Qaeda flag. When I see one, they're waving al-Qaeda Wahhabist flags.
Right, it's got black flags. It's all the al-Qaeda type black flags, and I guess this ISIS group is really trying to reunify sections of Syria with sections of Iraq. The first reports of this were coming out of London before the U.S. press picked up on it. The U.S. press really only picked up on it yesterday. I've been following it since earlier in the week. And now we're just trying to get further confirmation from what this group of contractors is. We're trying to contact the companies they work for and.
But undoubtedly, do you agree with me?
Although I expect that the initial reaction of the corporations will be to deny it and to indicate everybody's just fine until we learn differently. It's going to be a busy time here, Alex. I'm getting a call. I'll just take this one later.
It's okay.
The phones are ringing off the hook, so I'm just trying to keep up with
No, I understand. But bottom line, from my evidence, and even the Belfast Times is saying this is orchestrated just like they gave part of Syria to al-Qaeda and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia admittedly is financing this. These are very well equipped. This looks like an invasion.
Well, it's also, I mean, one of the ironies of this thing is the ISIS group in Iraq. If you know, they're clearly, if you go across to Syria, the Obama administration's been supporting the ISIS group. So you know, you're a criminal terrorist now in Iraq, but you're an ally of the United States fighting for the same group in Syria. And the whole group of the whole intent of this group is to unify part of Syria and Iraq and make a Sunni state. Of course, Saudi Arabia is Sunni.
Oh
and,
my God.
You know, and the reports are also coming that Iran is going to enter this. Iran Shiite. I'm sure Iran has strong interest protecting the Shiites.
Iran Shiite civil war.
Full-scale regional civil war before it ends.
Unbelievable. Will you come back Sunday or Monday, Dr. Corsi?
Sure, I'll be happy to, Alex. Thank you. We'll get updates and get as much confirmed as we can get confirmed, and we'll keep posting on WND as we get new things.
WND.com, Infowars.com, DrudgeReport.com. We'll talk to you Sunday or Monday with an update, 30 minutes with Dr. Corsi. Unbelievable.